Chapter 682. Following the arrival of the royal family and important officials from the Zhou state and later Qin, the envoys from the other countries also arrived. Only the Immortal Keeper nation didn't send anyone over. As for the Penglai nation, everyone knew that the Zhou state was the symbol of Penglai. Since the 5th and 9th representatives from the Zhou state had arrived, it was enough. On the day before the annual competition began, the 5 major countries, the eastern capital, and some important hunting groups all arrived. Early in the morning, Yun Sheng and Dong Huanglinger walked out of the inn. Yun Sheng-linger, where are you going? Gu Feng and Qi also walked out. Yun Sheng and Dong Huanglinger both looked embarrassed. In order to avoid Gu Feng and Qi, they had specially gotten up early, but they didn't expect to still be caught. We went to watch the competition, Dong Huanglinger stuttered. Ah, you got tickets? I envy you so much. I specially went to line up overnight to buy tickets, but I didn't get any. Gu Feng looked envious. The annual competition this time was fresh and had done enough promotion, so the tickets were unprecedentedly popular. The competition hadn't even started yet, but the tens of thousands of tickets, including the quarterfinals, semifinals and finals tickets, were all sold out. Part of the reason the tickets were so popular was that Tianyi East had sent out a large number of invitations. Most of the royal family officials had brought their families along with them, and some hunting squads had even sent their elites over. Therefore, although the tickets for 10,000 people were said to be available, only 5,000 tickets were actually sold to the outside world. Moreover, the audience who could get one of these 5,000 tickets were mostly people with powerful backgrounds. Ordinary people didn't have any connections, so they couldn't even see the shadow of a ticket. Once it was snatched, it was quickly gone. That brat Gu Feng was also very anxious about this annual competition. He brought his belongings and waited outside the arena for a day and a night, but he didn't get a single ticket, which made him depressed for a long time. We only managed to get the tickets thanks to Big Sister Yu. Haha, Gu Feng, don't tell me you've learned from those young ladies that you're interested in a battle team? Yun Xing teased when she saw Gu Feng's fanatical expression. Of course, I'm a crazy fan of Flame Emperor. I love Flame Emperor the most. Gu Feng took out a pile of cards. I bought almost all of Flame Emperor's souvenirs. Since last month, Gu Feng had been able to earn some prize money from the competitions he participated in. Moreover, the competition zone had relaxed the restrictions on magic healers, so Gu Feng had a lot of money to spend. However, this guy actually squandered all his money on souvenirs. Yun Sheng and Dong Huanglinger secretly rolled their eyes. However, Gu Feng still liked the Flame Emperor even though he didn't know the true identity of the Flame Emperor. This was really an ill-fated relationship. Dong Huanglinger's expression was also unfathomable. Hee, we will definitely tell you the highlights of the competition. It's getting late, we have to quickly enter the arena. Yun Sheng was worried that if Dong Huanglinger continued to speak, she would reveal a flaw. Thus the two immediately slipped away. Hey, come back early. You have to tell me the situation of Flame Emperor's competition. I'll be waiting for you guys. Gu Feng didn't give up and shouted a few times from behind. Looking at Yun Sheng's back, Qi Feng had an indescribable strange feeling in his heart. Seems like something is wrong. A quarter of an hour later, the Flame Emperor arrived at the Skywing Arena. Due to the special arrangement of the competition zone, all the contestants would only know about it at the very end. When the two walked into the arena, their first reaction was that it was huge. This was an arena that could accommodate 10,000 people at the same time. Just the diameter of the arena was over 3,000 meters. The entire arena, aside from the audience seats, was open air. At night, one could clearly see the stars and the moon. If a person were to walk into the arena, the first feeling they would have would be insignificant. It was said that such a design was made with demonic beasts in mind. The running and galloping speed of demonic beasts was much faster than that of humans. At the moment before the start of the competition, Flame Emperor and the other 11 groups of contestants didn't know the origin of the demonic beasts they would be facing. The competition officially began in the afternoon. There were people all around. The 10,000-seat arena was designed in a trapezoidal shape. The first row was a purple and gold seat, and those seated were all royalty and aristocratic dignitaries of various countries. Skywings East also sat in the first row. Behind the second row were the various large hunting groups and some wealthy merchants, and at the very end were the ordinary spectators. Flame roughly looked at the audience seats and saw the familiar Elder Hellion and Elder Yu. As for the other contestants, they probably didn't manage to buy tickets. Flame suddenly felt a gaze. She looked toward the first row and saw Yi Baiming. Beside Yi Baiming sat Empress Wenren and a young child. It looked like that was the newly ascended crown prince. Yi Baiming probably came today as a member of Zhou State's royal family. Yi Baiming looked at Yun Sheng and curled the corner of his lips. How could he look so devilish? The corner of Yun Sheng's mouth twitched, and she resisted the urge to give Yi Baiming the middle finger. She looked to the side again. Not good, the emperor called out softly, his voice a little anxious. What's wrong? Flame looked at the emperor. Why is that old guy here? The emperor also just noticed that the left minister of the eastern capital was sitting in the first row. She had always been at odds with the left minister, especially this time's marriage between the two countries. It was all the left minister's idea. Don't worry, you're wearing a mask so he won't recognize you. When the time comes, just be careful not to reveal any flaws. Flame glanced at the left minister. There were only so many familiar faces in the first row. The one who came from the later Qin seemed to be an unfamiliar general. As for the immortal residents, as expected, no one was sent. Elves were different from humans. They were the closest race to demonic beasts. The elves of the immortal residents hated the competition between humans and beasts. They slowly walked into the arena. Looking at Lionheart's appearance, is he here to compete or to put on a show? Flame was comforted by Yun Sheng and his thoughts calmed down. The two members of Lionheart were dressed in white today. The man was dressed like a welcoming guest, while the woman was dressed in a tight low-cut magician's robe. As soon as the two appeared, they heard a group of people in the middle row cheering. Lionheart will win. These were the hunting companions of Lionheart's two members when they were hunters in the early years. Today they were all here to support the two. Did you see that? This is what it means to be popular. The two men from Lionheart had a proud look on their faces as they swaggered past Flame Emperor. What's there to be proud of? Aren't they just relying on their advantage in numbers? The Emperor muttered. Flame Emperor walked forward. A series of earth-shattering dragon roars and imposing roars came from the sky. The 10,000 people in the arena shook a few times. Flame Emperor is invincible. Flame Emperor will win. Chapter 683. Many hunters from the Heaven Extermination Hunting Group descended from the sky. Dozens of bat dragons roared at the same time. Everyone present was taken aback and began to whisper to each other. They had heard that Flame Emperor was a free team without any background, but they didn't expect them to have such a background. The Heaven Hunting Group was clearly supporting Flame Emperor. Hee, this is what I call popularity. Flame Emperor winked at Lionheart. Lionheart's two people didn't look too good. Suddenly, Flame Emperor and Lionheart's popularity were on par with each other in the 12 groups. Second young master, today's competition is unprecedented. Why haven't we seen the demonic beast yet? The left minister's shifty eyes paused on Li Xinyue's snow-white chest for a moment before he stared at the two people from Flame Emperor. The winners of the 12 groups entered first. In order to maintain the mystery, the demonic beasts were still kept in the rearing sheds. Flame Emperor and Lionheart entered the arena together. Lionheart's two people had clearly dressed up today. They were wearing the most beautiful clothes. Not only left minister but the rest of the audience were also eagerly waiting for the demonic beasts to enter after this unique, opening show. Left minister, don't be impatient. Look, the demonic beasts are here. Tianydong stood up and clapped a few times. In the middle of the arena, a piece of ground slowly rose up and 6 huge beast cages rose up. The 6 beast cages were of different sizes. The smallest was only the size of a bird cage while the largest was 5 or 6 square meters. It could be imagined that the sizes of the demonic beasts were also completely different. The outside of the cages was covered with magic cloth, blocking everyone's curious gazes. Even if someone used their divine sense to scan, it would be very difficult to see what was inside. Everyone, welcome to the annual competition. I am one of the referees for this year's competition, Hoth. The 6 demonic beasts are about to reveal their true faces. Let us look forward to the great battle between demonic beasts and humans. A man dressed like a beast man stood next to the beast cages. This person was the person in charge of the Profound Wing Arena. He was also a sacred beast summoner. Several martial artists came up and carefully carried the 6 cages to the side. One of the largest cages took a total of 10 martial artists and many levers to move. Yen, what do you think is in there? The size of each cage is different, so the difficulty should be different too. It doesn't seem fair. The smallest cage should have the weakest magical beast, right? Yen and Emperor discussed. The strength of a magical beast has no direct relation to its size. As a summoner, Yunxing knew better than the average person that in some situations, the smaller the magical beast, the more powerful it was. Anyway, I don't want to collide with the guy in the biggest cage. Looking at the size, what kind of magical beast do you think it is? The emperor shivered. Her understanding of magical beasts was very limited. It could be a bear or an elephant type of magical beast. Yin was also sizing up the 6 cages. On the outside of the 6 cages, there were numbers from 1 to 6. Those who have formed the temporary battle team, please choose a member to come forward and draw lots. We will draw lots. Without waiting for the emperor to say who would draw lots, Li Xingyue pushed Huangfu Shi out. Why should you do it? The emperor was unwilling to place her fate in the hands of these 2 people. Because we are stronger than you. Isn't it just a beginner sacred magician and a healing elf magician? During the competition you still have to rely on us. Li Xingyue raised her eyebrows, her face full of arrogance. She and Huangfu Shi were both strong attackers who were good at close combat. They had a great advantage when fighting against large magical beasts. Emperor, let them do it. When the time comes they can't blame us for whatever they draw. Yin shook his head. The people from Lionheart thought that the emperor was afraid of them and felt even more proud. Huangfu Shi walked forward and quickly drew the number 3. The other 5 temporary battle teams also chose their magical beasts. Our luck is not bad. Cage number 3 is the smallest cage. It shouldn't be any powerful magical beast. Huangfu Shi and the others showed a satisfied expression when they saw the number. Good, according to the order, each temporary battle team will come forward. Let us first announce the magical beast in cage number 1. It had to be said that Hoth of the Profound Wings division was very good at stirring up the atmosphere. His unhurried tone made the hearts of the audience and the mystical beasts in the arena rise to their throats. Cage number 1 was also the largest of all the cages for magical beasts. What bad luck to draw a big guy. The 4 contestants who drew cage number 1 were already muttering. The 4 of them braced themselves and walked forward. Hoth tore off the magical cloth covering the cage. Wow! Gasps could be heard from the entire arena. The magical beast in cage number 1 was a glacial raging elephant that was over 4 meters tall. Its 4 limbs were like 4 pillars made of ice and snow. 2 long teeth that looked like scimitars grew from the sides of the giant elephant's mouth, glinting coldly. A beginner commander glacial raging elephant. The Skywings arena is really going all out this time. Zhong Yi, who was sitting next to Yun Songlong, subconsciously rubbed his chin. As a summoner, he knew most of the magical beasts on the continent. Some high-level magical beasts were almost extinct on the continent. Even if they occasionally encountered a natural high-level magical beast, most of them had already been captured by the Zhao state. This was just the first cage and such a huge monster had already appeared. Who knew what kind of magical beasts would appear in the next 5 cages? To be able to see a rare commander-level magical beast in the Shenhuang Division's annual combined tournament, just this point alone was worth the price of the ticket. Master Zhongyi, is this magical beast very powerful? Oriole couldn't help but ask. She only hoped that the most powerful magical beasts would be drawn away as soon as possible. That way, Flame Emperor would have a much higher chance of winning. The giant elephant's body was like a moving wall. When they saw that giant elephant, the contestants of the first team all cursed in their hearts, F***CK. On the other hand, the other contestants all breathed a sigh of relief. They all took it for granted that the largest cage had already been chosen, so the following commander-level magical beasts would presumably be much safer. Actually, this raging elephant is just a facade. If I'm not wrong, it should be the weakest of the 6 magical beasts. Zhong Yi's gaze swept across the 6 cages. His gaze was fixed on the smallest cage and the medium-sized cages. Among magical beasts, the larger ones had a natural advantage, but correspondingly, they were less talented in certain aspects. Chapter 684. The Glacier Raging Elephant belonged to the latter category. Ah, then isn't Flame Emperor in trouble? Master Zhongren, tell us what's so powerful about this raging elephant? Oriole asked anxiously. She was blindly fond of Flame Emperor and her mind was filled with thoughts of their victory. This type of magical beast has a heavy body. However, when it runs, it can activate a group attack spell called Glacier Roar. However, this type of spell requires some time to activate. As long as the opponent can control the spell, it will be fine. Zhongren's analysis was clear and logical. As he spoke, another magical beast cage was opened. Within the second magical beast cage was a raging flame lizard. This was also a type of magic beast that was at the level of a beginner commander. It was most proficient in spitting out magic thorns that contained poisonous gas. The fire thorns would explode in the air and no target within 100 meters would survive. The weakness of this type of magical beast was even more obvious. One only needed to attack it from 100 meters away. The second group heaved a sigh of relief. They had two magicians who were good at long-range magic attacks. It's our turn. Cage number 3. Flame Emperor and Lionheart's people's hearts raced. Everyone, I don't know if I should congratulate you or, you have drawn the most beautiful magical beast. At the same time, it's also an extremely troublesome one. Wuxia was still in the mood to joke. He gently removed the magic cloth from the birdcage-sized draconic beast as if he was lifting the veil of a beautiful bride. Once the cloth was removed, many people in the arena couldn't help but stand up to take a closer look at the magical beast in the cage. Ah! Emperor couldn't help but cover his mouth. Li Xingyue also couldn't help but widen her eyes. Wuxia had no choice but to call it the most beautiful magical beast. Even summoners like Flame Emperor and Zhong Ren had never seen a magical beast more beautiful than this little fellow in front of them. It was a small bird the size of a woman's palm. It had a body of incomparably beautiful golden-green feathers. Its beak and claws were red, and its tail had a pair of large charming tail feathers. Under the sunlight, the feathers trembled as if countless gold coins were shining. When the blue paradise bird courted a mate, it would either raise its head and arch its back, raising the golden feathers on both sides of its body, or it would hang upside down from a tree branch, shaking out its beautiful brocade feathers to attract a female bird. Hell bird. Grandmaster Zhongren, who was still analyzing the characteristics of the previous magical beast, suddenly opened his mouth wide. How can such a beautiful bird be called a hell bird? I feel that it should be called a bird of paradise. It's not inferior to phoenixes and peacocks. Oriole also saw the little fellow in the cage. It still seemed to have stage fright as it stood awkwardly in a corner of the cage. Sigh, that's because you were blinded by its beautiful appearance. It was such a small hell bird that had once killed a 1,000-man hunting squad. Do you still think it should be called a bird of paradise? Zhongyi shook his head. Speaking of the hell bird, this bird wasn't originally called that. It was originally called the seven-colored lyrebird. Because of its beautiful voice, it belonged to a very special type of magical beast. But most of these lyrebirds have gone extinct. They rarely appeared on the continent. Because of this, some noble girls and women liked to raise these birds as a form of pride. About 200 years ago, one of the favored concubines of the later Qin Emperor was determined to catch a seven-colored lyrebird. Later Qin Emperor sent a 1,000-man army to an otherworldly forest to capture it. However, after entering the forest, the capture army, which was made up of mid-level warriors and several magicians, was strangely annihilated. When the army went to search for it, they only found a few beautiful birds flying among the mountains of corpses. Those birds were the hell birds of today. Yin Emperor and Lionheart's luck wasn't very good. Although the hell bird was the smallest of the 3 magic beasts announced earlier, it was undoubtedly the most threatening one out of the 3. If they didn't find a way to win, Yin Emperor and Lionheart's group would probably perish under the wings of the hell bird. However, not everyone knew the origin of the hell bird. At the very least, Lionheart and Lionheart thought that they had drawn the best lot. Yin Emperor thought so too. She even pulled Yin Emperor and said, "Are we really going to compete with that bird later? It's so beautiful that I can't bear to kill it. A dog that barks doesn't bite. The more beautiful it is, the more vicious it is. We can't underestimate it." Although Yin Emperor didn't know the origin of the hell bird, it must have some ability to be called a hell bird. Yin Emperor didn't let down his guard. Even with his eyesight, he couldn't tell the strength of this magical beast. It seemed that this little fella's strength was more profound than the others. "Lionheart, that magical beast is too beautiful. After killing it, I'm going to use its feathers to decorate my magician's robe." Li Xingyue pointed at the caged bird arrogantly. "Everyone, this beautiful bird has a name that doesn't match its appearance. It's called the hell bird." Just when everyone was immersed in the beauty of the hell bird, Wuxia, who was standing at the side, couldn't hide the slyness in his eyes. Apart from a few people, no one noticed the gloating look in Wuxia's eyes. Anyone who underestimated the hell bird and tried to obtain its beautiful feathers would have to pay the price in blood. After the announcement of the magical beast in cage number 3, the magical beasts in cages 4 and 5 were also revealed. It was a mid-level commander magical beast, the 3-headed hound. When he saw the 3-headed hound, Yin Emperor couldn't help but think of Xiao Hei from the beast language ring. However, compared to the 3-headed hound, Xiao Hei was taller and had a more frightening aura. The 3-headed hound was also the only dark magical beast among all the magical beasts. It had the speed of the wind. The one in cage number 5 was a thunder wolf. It could spit out lightning bolts that were no less than a few thousand volts. The first 5 cages had been revealed, leaving cage number 6 as the only one that hadn't been announced. Due to the appearance of the gigantic glacier raging elephant and the incomparably beautiful hell bird, most people's attention was drawn away. No one paid special attention to what was in the 6th cage. Based on the size of cage number 6, many people guessed that there should be a magical beast the size of a horse inside. Everyone, it's finally the final moment. After announcing this magical beast, we will immediately enter the first round of the annual competition. The magical beast in cage number 6 will be announced immediately. Wuxia's voice was filled with urgency. It wasn't just for the upcoming competition, but also for the last cage. With a trembling hand, he tore off the last piece of magical cloth. Chapter 685. The red magical cloth slid to the ground. The magical beast in the 6th magical beast cage had revealed its true appearance. Horse. It was indeed a horse. But in the next moment, everyone realized that the magical beast in the 6th cage was no ordinary horse. That is, Yin saw a magical beast that was somewhat similar to a horse. It had slender and muscular limbs, and its hair was as flawless as the snow of the northern kingdom. There was a tuft of red hair on its forehead, and its eyelashes were like butterfly wings. Its eyes were like a human's, full of wisdom. There was a spiral horn on its forehead. A unicorn? This was the first time Yin had seen such a magical beast. But immediately Yin denied her own thoughts. Was a unicorn. A name immediately popped into her mind. Among the 6 magical beasts participating in the annual competition, one of them was actually an adult unicorn. A unicorn was a very special magical beast, or it could be called a semi-divine beast. This magical beast was also Horse's favorite magical beast. He had even given it a name, Dawn. The spectators were also unable to take their eyes off the cage. The Heaven's Wings arena was indeed rich and imposing, to actually have such a magical beast. The Hellbird and the Light Unicorn were both the most beautiful magical beasts. But the beauty of the two was completely different. The Hellbird was like a fiery phoenix from hell, radiant and eye-catching. The Light Unicorn, on the other hand, had a noble beauty. The imprisoned unicorn was unbearable to look at. Oh my, it's actually a light unicorn. Sigh, it would be great if Flame Emperor could draw this magical beast. Zhongyi couldn't help but sigh when he saw the beautiful creature imprisoned in the cage. What? Master Zhongren, could it be that the unicorn is not the most powerful of these magical beasts? Even Yen Kei, who was not a summoner, knew that the rank of the unicorn should be the highest among all the commander-level magical beasts. It was said that the Unicorn King was one of the top magical beasts among the king-level magical beasts. It was also the magical beast closest to a divine beast, because it had received the blessing of light from birth. Unicorns were natural light magical beasts. That's because unicorns are the most peace-loving magical beasts. Unless they're forced to their limits, they won't attack humans. Hence, it's actually not difficult to defeat a unicorn. The Zong personality side. Compared to the other 5 magic beasts in the cages, this unicorn looked the most dazzling, and its grade was also the highest. However, Zhongyi was certain that this unicorn was the most harmless. The 6 magical beasts had revealed their true appearances. They were the first glacial raging elephant, the 2nd lava lizard, the 3rd hell bird, the 4th three-headed hound, the 5th thunder wolf, and the 6th radiant unicorn. After seeing their opponents in the first round, most of the contestants had different expressions. Hoth stepped forward and removed the magic restriction on the cages. In order to prevent the magical beasts from being frightened, every cage was enchanted with a special spell before being transported out. As soon as the restriction was lifted, the cage door opened. Awu, the glacial raging elephant, was the first to show its might. Its long trunk, which was as flexible as an arm, tore the cage apart and ran out. The elephant's size and weight were equally shocking. With every step it took, the whole arena shook non-stop. Following that, the remaining few magical beasts also came out of their cages. The hell bird with beautiful feathers also flapped its wings, like a playful girl, and came out of the cage. The unicorn in the 6th magical beast cage was the most reserved one. It tentatively lifted its front leg and walked out. Its posture was just like an empress of the royal family. The magical beasts were fine when they were in their cages. However, as soon as they came out of their cages, the pressure of the commander-level magical beasts was like the weight of Mount Tai. Seeing the 6 magical beasts, Flame Emperor, and the other contestants from the other 11 groups all took a deep breath. Although they already knew that their opponents were commander-level magical beasts, when the 6 commander-level magical beasts stood together, the pressure of the magical beasts was still very scary. Among the 12 groups of contestants, one group's knees went soft, and they lost their composure and directly fell to the ground. There was a wave of boos from the audience. The battle between humans and beasts hadn't even started, and the champions of the monthly tournament were already showing signs of stage fright. Useless things. It's just a group of magical beasts. What's there to be afraid of? The two from Lionheart mocked disdainfully. Everyone, the lineups of both sides have come out. Let me explain the rules of this annual tournament to everyone. Tianidong loved the feeling of being the center of attention. He quickly condensed his fighting aura into wings and moved from the audience to the highest position on the stage. Tianidong's roar was accompanied by the effect of the Skywing City Lord's unique battle record, Sky-Shaking Roar. Under the roar, everyone's attention was unconsciously focused on him, and no one paid any attention to the contestant who had lost his composure. Hoth took the opportunity to help that contestant up and encouraged him from the side. First of all, on behalf of the entire Skywing City, this young master welcomes the 10,000 distinguished guests seated here. It is you who have made the first annual tournament of humans and beasts of the Skywing Arena unprecedentedly exciting. His hawk-like eyes looked around the arena that could hold 10,000 people. Once again, on behalf of my father and the entire arena, this young master thanks the 24 brave warriors present. Finally, out of consideration for the special nature of this tournament, this annual tournament will use two methods to determine the victor. The first method is a pre-match forfeiture system, where all contestants have a chance to forfeit before the start of the match. The second method is a life-or-death match. Once the match begins, no person or magical beast can withdraw midway. It will be a fight to the death. What? Tianidong's words had a completely different flavor in the ears of the contestants and the audience. The audience was naturally happy to see this. A life-or-death match, a fight to the death, was a rare opportunity, and the battle was bound to be very intense. They had come to the Skywing Arena to see something different, and the more bloody and violent, the better. The other arenas on the continent all used the rules of stopping when it came to a point. But it was different for the contestants. There was only one chance to forfeit, which meant that after one forfeit the following match would be a fight to the death. This was clearly different from the rules of the Skywing Arena. The original rules of the competition were that as long as a contestant voluntarily forfeited, the match could be terminated at any time. Tianidong's new rules were clearly a game of slaughter. Either the contestants would survive by killing the magical beasts, or the contestants would die in the mouths of the beasts. No, we don't agree. Nearly half of the 24 contestants expressed strong dissatisfaction. Chapter 686. Nearly half of the 24 contestants expressed strong dissatisfaction. They had come to participate in the arena either for fame or for profit, but disregarding life and death for fame and profit wasn't their goal. My apologies, everyone. When you joined the arena, you signed a life and death agreement. The last clause is already clearly stated that as long as you are in the Skywings Arena, you must unconditionally obey the arena's arrangements. Skywings East had long known that these contestants would disagree. The contestants all had terrible expressions as they cursed inwardly. This was simply a tyrannical rule. But they had indeed signed that agreement. If they violated the arena's rules, they would face sky-high compensation. The Skywings Arena would hunt them down all over the continent. Retracting our head is a knife, sticking our head out is also a knife. Let's go all out. The 4 members of the first team who had drawn the Glacier Raging Elephant stepped forward. The first match is about to begin. The remaining contestants of teams 2 to 6, please return to the contestant lounge to rest. The members of teams 2 to 6 returned to the lounge with indescribable feelings. No one was willing to stay and watch the match. Everyone was thinking about how to deal with the next match. Not long after they entered the lounge, they heard a tremor that sounded like an earthquake. Someone asked, "I wonder what the result is." "No matter what, we have to compete. We're already meat on the chopping block. We'll be swallowed no matter what," said Jianghu of the 6th team. The 6th battle team was the one that had drawn the unicorn earlier on. At this moment, the 4 of them had already studied the information on the light unicorn. Jianghu was a typical martial artist, with a full beard and casual clothes that made him look rather sloppy. The peacock man and woman from Lionheart couldn't help but frown when they saw that man, as if they had seen something dirty. Everyone said nothing as they listened to the activity in the arena. "Since we're waiting, why don't we all drink a few mouthfuls to boost our courage?" Jianghu took out a leather pouch filled with high-concentration sorghum wine. For martial artists, wine was their second weapon. It could boost their courage, improve their blood circulation, and sometimes even heal ordinary wounds. With that, he took a sip before casually handing it to Flame, who was closest to him. The two Flame Emperors had a good impression of this boorish man. Yin did not hesitate and took the wine. Without even wiping the mouth of the water bag, he drank a mouthful. That was the coarsest type of sorghum wine. It was spicy and did not taste like alcohol at all. In comparison, Yin was already missing the few jars of elven fruit wine that she had stored in the beast language ring. The texture was exquisite and the wine was strong. It was a pity that the ring had been taken away by Elder Hellion. When the Emperor saw this, he couldn't refuse. He imitated Yen and took a sip. "Hey, you must be the Flame Emperors. I have high hopes for you. I didn't know that a woman could be so bold." Seeing that the Flame Emperor was not bashful at all, the boorish man Qin smiled until his face was full of wrinkles. They were enemies in the arena but friends outside the arena. This was a typical competitor. Just like that, the wine pouch was passed down. Everyone felt as if they were fellow sufferers. However, when Li Xinhua heard about it, she threw away the wine pouch. "It's so dirty. Why are you still drinking at a time like this? Are you all in a rush to drink?" Li Xinhua's words were like scolding someone to death. At this critical juncture, it was simply touching someone's bad luck. When Qin heard this, blood rushed to his head. "Woman, is there something wrong with your brain? That's my wine. Get lost." He rolled up his sleeves and was about to argue with Li Xinhua. "Qin, don't you dare touch her." Huang Fushi cast a sidelong glance at Qin. His opponent's cultivation was lower than his. "Brother Qin, forget it. It's just a pouch of wine. When the competition is over, I'll treat you to the best elven fruit wine if there's a chance." Yin moved forward and pulled Qin back. Qin was not willing to let this go. However, he realized that his hand was held down by Yen and could not move at all. Only then did Li Yong realize that although the lass looked weak, she was not simple at all. It was said that the Flame Emperor was just a name. It seemed that it was just a rumor. To be able to participate in the annual competition, none of them were weak. Li Yong looked rough, but there was a finesse in his roughness. He had a good eye for people. "Elven fruit wine? Then I'll let it go for your sake. I'll wait for that cup of wine." Li Yong chuckled, giving Yen face. "Let's talk about it later if you're alive to drink that cup of wine." Li Xinhua interrupted. "Woman, I dare you to say that again." Qin Yong'an's anger was stirred up again. Fortunately, the first round of the competition was over. The first round of the competition is over. The second round of the competition is about to begin. Team 2, please come out. A staff member of the arena walked in. As soon as he came in, the other contestants immediately surrounded him. "Who won?" Huang Fushi asked anxiously. "The glacier wild elephant was killed. However, among the 4 members of Team 1, 1 is dead, 1 is injured, and 2 are alive. The person who was injured at the last moment was trampled by the berserk wild ice elephant and had his spine crushed. I'm afraid he'll be bedridden for the rest of his life." The staff member announced mechanically. Such a tragic result still caused everyone present to be slightly surprised. This piece of news made the earlier conflict seem insignificant. Team 2, hurry up and come out. Team 3, get ready. The annual competition would last for an entire day. The duration of the competition depended on the strength of the magical beasts and the contestants. The first round of the competition lasted for less than an hour. According to this calculation, it would soon be the third round of the competition. The third round of the competition would be between Team 3 and the Hellbirds. However, before the second round of the competition ended, there was another piece of news. The first round of the competition had a direct impact. After the news of Team 1's death spread, the odds of the betting tables controlled by the Hidden Night Pavilion suddenly skyrocketed. The odds, which were originally in favor of the contestants, suddenly changed. When the second round of the competition began, the odds had changed from the initial 1 to 3-1. In this round, several teams couldn't hold back anymore. Li Yong and the others went out to watch the competition. Under Yan's persuasion, Huang meditated in the resting room. The second round of the competition lasted longer than the first. About 1.5 hours later, the results of the competition were finally out. Team 2 has lost. The lava lizard's attack power is shocking. Qin announced the result as soon as he came in. He was no longer in the mood to drink and joke. His expression was serious. The second magical beast, the lava lizard, had thick skin. The contestants couldn't take it down for a long time and used up a lot of energy. At the last moment, the lava lizard released a high-level spell, Lava Volcano. The situation was very tragic. Of the 4 contestants, 2 were dead and 2 were injured. The lava lizard won. With such a result, the already tense atmosphere in the contestant lounge became even more oppressive. Chapter 687. The betting odds outside are already 5-1. What a scam. Everyone has been scammed this time. Qin Yangon was already regretting going out to watch the competition. His confidence was obviously shaken. The second team suffered a crushing defeat. Qin Yangon watched as 2 of the contestants were swallowed by the lava. He watched as they wailed, struggled, and turned into a pool of blood. The scene was too horrible to watch. Flame Emperor and Lionheart did not go out to watch the competition. Lionheart did it because he had absolute confidence in winning. Flame Emperor did it because he wanted to have enough time to meditate and accumulate more mana. The third match is about to begin. Third team, please enter the arena. The staff urged. It had begun. Flame Emperor and Flame Emperor looked at each other and saw a trace of encouragement in each other's eyes. After so many matches, Flame Emperor's tacit understanding with him was already very high. He was comparable to some veteran hunters who had worked together for many years. Be smart later. If you can't win, then scram. Don't get in our way. Li Xinyue's beautiful mouth spat out stinging words. Without our consent, you are not allowed to forfeit. Otherwise, we won't let you off easily. Huangfu Lionheart also glanced at Flame Emperor. Since they were from the same team, either side had the right to forfeit. Lionheart was certain that Flame Emperor would be a burden. Flame Emperor, do your best. I have high hopes for you. Qin Yangon pouted at Lionheart in dissatisfaction. He really wanted to punch Lionheart's disgusting face into pieces. After 2 matches, it was already noon. The sun was shining brightly in the sky. Because Skywing City was located in the sky, the sun's radiation was also much stronger than other places. Despite the magic array, the temperature of the arena's ground had already reached over 30 degrees Celsius due to the strong sunlight. The arena had specially prepared half an hour of tidying up. During this time, most of the audience bought some snacks and discussed the 2 matches. The arena had already been cleaned up, but there was still a trace of sulfur smell left in the air. This was the trace left behind by the advanced fire magic lava volcano. Half an hour was enough for the temporary team to arrange their battle strategy. You're called Flame Emperor, right? Later you will buff us with wind magic. As for you, I heard that you know how to use elven magic. Later, use your magic to confuse the hell birds, Li Xinyue said in a bossy tone. We've already done everything. What are you doing? The Emperor was very dissatisfied with Li Xinyue's tone. In the arena, the person who ran out of mana first was more likely to lose. The 2 of us are the finale. Otherwise, do you think the 2 of you can defeat a commander-level magical beast? Li Xinyue said disdainfully. She had noticed that Yen was a master magician while the Emperor was only a novice saint magician. That hellbird didn't look like much and didn't seem to know any magic, but it might have some amazing battle skills. It was better to be cautious and let these 2 hotheads test the waters first. She would let the Yen Emperor go first. After confirming the hellbird's strength, she and the Lion King would be able to succeed in one move. To the audience, they had already experienced 2 matches that were not perfect. If Lionheart could defeat the hellbird in one fell swoop at this crucial moment, it would definitely cause a sensation. This was the result that the 2 Lionheart members had been waiting for. When the third match began, the sun was hanging high in the sky. In the VIP seats, the servants of the royal family and the nobles had set up small tents to block the sun. The entire arena was like a steamer, stuffy and hot. The hell bird was released from its cage. The palm-sized bird turned into a beautiful shadow as soon as it was released from its cage. With that speed, not many people in the arena could see its movements clearly. Under the mask, Yen squinted his eyes. His black pupils turned into a pale gold color. This bird was very fast and had to be handled carefully. Following Yan's chant, a thin veil-like mist quickly enveloped the entire arena. The mist greatly reduced the temperature in the arena. The audience, who were originally unable to open their eyes due to the sun's scorching heat, became alert and strenuously watched the situation in the arena. What a fast chanting speed. In the audience seats, Elder Hellion and Elder Yu sighed at the same time. This reminded them of the dark gold mentors in the mainland's magic elite camp. However, no one connected the masked female contestant in the city with Yun Sheng. Emperor also added wind magic to the 2 Lionheart members in order to deal with the situation. The hell bird did not release any magic other than dodging. Seeing this, the 2 Lionheart members breathed a sigh of relief and looked at each other. Huang Fushi shook his body and his movements increased by several times. He broke through the air like a sharp arrow and caught up with the hellbird's speed in a short time. Huang Fushi waved his palm and forced the hellbird to flee in all directions. Li Xingyue began chanting. With Emperor's wind magic, the two were at least twice as fast as usual. Fireballs danced on Li Xingyue's magic scepter like a snake dance. Chirp! The hellbird was forced into a corner by the two and suddenly stopped in its tracks. It suddenly arched its back and all the colorful feathers on its body stood up. Its body was strangely facing down and the feathers on its tail opened up like a velvet fan. Its feathers lit up one by one as if they were lit on fire. As the hellbird assumed this strange posture, the hellbird's expression changed drastically. A strange scene appeared. Under the thin fog, the shadows of birds appeared in the sky. At first there was only one. Then there were 3, 4, and more. In less than a minute, hundreds of hellbirds appeared in the sky above the arena. These hellbirds were exactly the same in appearance, size, and even their cries. Even their posture was exactly the same as the original hellbird. They all began to chirp. In an instant, the arena seemed to have turned into a forest with birds everywhere. The 2 Lionheart members were also stunned by this scene. How can this be? What kind of combat skill is this? Facing so many hellbirds, anyone would be scared witless. Huang Fushi waved his palm at one of the hellbirds. With a single palm strike, the hellbird let out a blood-curdling shriek before disappearing into thin air. But soon 2 more hellbirds appeared where the original hellbird had been. They were lifelike and looked exactly like the hellbirds from before. Impossible, how can there be so many of them? Li Xingyue released a flame explosion. The flame explosion exploded and the flames engulfed 3 or 4 hellbirds. But then double the number of hellbirds appeared. Yan Emperor had never encountered such a situation. There were hundreds to thousands of hellbirds. Every time one was killed, there would be double the number of hellbirds. With a bird chirp, hundreds and thousands of hellbirds rushed toward the 4 of them like bombers. The beaks of the birds were extremely sharp. With one bite, the skin and flesh would be torn open. Chapter 688. Among the 4 members of the third team, the most miserable one was Li Xingyue. She had worn revealing clothes in order to look good, and now she had become the focus of the birds. Her snow-white skin was immediately covered in blood and flesh. Don't come over, go away. Li Xingyue was obsessed with her beauty, and only knew how to frantically wave her magic scepter, continuously releasing magic. Xingyue, calm down. Huang Fushi was anxious. If Li Xingyue used up all her magic, it would be troublesome later. In the annual competition, the use of magic potions was strictly prohibited. Fortunately, at this time the originally thin fog suddenly became much thicker. The arena immediately fell into a hazy fog, and the birds' attacks were greatly reduced due to their vision being obstructed. Taking advantage of the thickening fog, the 4 people in the arena heaved a sigh of relief. Yan also frowned. The hellbirds were indeed worthy of their reputation. Although she did not know whether the hundreds and thousands of birds were real or fake, if this continued, whether it was in terms of magic or mental strength, the 4 of them would collapse. Yan, are you okay? Not far away, the Emperor's concerned voice sounded. It's nothing, just a small injury. After being reminded by her companions, Yan looked at her hand. Due to the protection of the magic robe, where she was injured, Yan paid attention to her injuries and found that there were a few deep scars left behind. Yan looked at the wounds on her hand strangely. Yan was different from the average person. Because she had the Shinong medical bracelet, as long as it did not hurt her bones, she could recover in a quarter of an hour. It was just a few pecks, and logically speaking, there should not be such serious wounds. Could it be? Yan's eyes darkened. Those birds and these wounds were just illusions? Magical beasts were different from humans. They had many unique aspects in terms of magic. Some magical beasts were even proficient in illusions. Yan was able to see through the illusions so quickly because she had fought with the Night Demon Queen before. Emperor, don't be nervous. Try to conserve your magic and pay attention to hiding. Let the 2 idiots from Lionheart do it. After confirming that the Hellbirds group attack was just for show, Yan calmed down. However, dragging on like this was not a solution. Due to the Hellbird special magic, the 3rd round of the competition took longer than the previous 2 rounds combined. They had to see through the illusion and find the real Hellbird. Only then would they be able to obtain victory. Yan narrowed his eyes. His Shinong eye stared at the countless bird figures in the fog. She was certain that the Hellbird's magic was not to be underestimated. Even with Shinong's pupil, it would be difficult for her to see through it. There had to be another way. Yen calmed himself down and thought of a countermeasure. Suddenly she remembered something. Yes, the dark gold rank teacher had said that no matter if it was a mage or a magical beast, as long as they used magic, there would be traces. As long as it's a magical beast, it will have a magical soul, even if it's an illusion. Only a hell bird with magical waves around its body is a real hell bird. Yen suddenly understood. She closed her eyes and used the celestial meditation that her dark gold mentor had taught her. The surrounding fog disappeared, and so did the chirping of the birds. Yan's surroundings became a blank space. Yen saw a magical fluctuation. Although it was weak, there was only one magical wave in the dense flock of birds in the sky. That was it. Yen gripped the magic scepter with a backhand grip, and his eyes suddenly opened. She held the magic scepter in her hand and gathered strength in her arm. Yen chanted and used the magic scepter as an arrow to cast the magic sealing arrow. The thick fog blocked the view, and also partially blocked the hellbird's vision. When it realized the danger, the enigmatic scepter hit the hellbird's chest. The hellbird fell from the sky. At this moment, the fog in the arena dissipated. What the audience saw was the hellbird shrieking miserably and falling from the sky. There was a magic scepter that was not much bigger than a thumb in its chest. Who could tell them what had happened? No one even knew who had cast the magic scepter. Looking around the arena, only Yen was missing a magic scepter. The other 3 people in the arena still had lingering fear. The hellbird was dead, and the damage inflicted on them by the illusion also disappeared. Because of their earlier resistance, the 2 members of the Lionheart team, who had originally been very elegant, were now all ruined. When Li Xingyue and Huang Fushi saw that it was Yen who had killed the hellbird, their faces were as black as the bottom of a pot. Referee Horse's lips trembled, and a look of surprise appeared on his face. Horse was one of the few people in the arena who knew about the hellbird's illusion combat skills. He hurriedly went forward to check and found that the hellbird was already dead, and that the magic scepter had a partial magic sealing effect. Horse pulled out the magic scepter with a strange expression. Then he walked in front of the 4 people and announced to the entire arena, "The Flaming Lion team wins the 3rd match." This match lasted for a long time, but it ended abnormally quickly. The audience did not expect that the hellbird, which looked extremely powerful and flawless, would be shot to death by a mere magic scepter. After the audience reacted, they immediately began to discuss wildly. "Sigh, this is a loss for me." Prime Minister's face was full of displeasure. He had bet 5,000 gold coins on the hellbird. Minister Zhuo is rich. It's only 5,000 gold coins. There will be more exciting matches later. Tianyi Dong chuckled. In the corner of the ordinary seats in the arena, the 5th and 9th summoners also witnessed the entire process of this match. Although they had received Tianyi Dong's invitation, the 9th summoner did not sit in the VIP seats. Instead, he chose to sit in the back row, so no one noticed that 2 important figures of the Zhao state were actually sitting in the ordinary seats. I didn't expect that an ordinary master magician could see through the hellbird's illusion. The 5th summoner was filled with emotion. Although the hellbird was not the most powerful magical beast, it was still very powerful. However, his illusionary techniques were real. Even beginner and intermediate summoners of the Zhao state would be at a disadvantage in front of the hellbird's illusion. Seeing through the illusion doesn't require any high-level magic. It only requires a firm heart. The 9th summoner's gaze flickered as he stared at Yen, who was preparing to leave the arena. Was it her? The 4 people returned to the lounge. "Little girl, you're amazing. How did you know that was the real hellbird?" As soon as he entered the lounge, Yen was surrounded by the remaining contestants. Under the premise of the bad news of the 1st and 2nd matches, the fact that the Flaming Lion team could preserve all 4 of their members and win the 3rd match was a shot in the arm for the other Shen beasts. Chapter 689. What's so great about that? She was just lucky and randomly shot it. Li Xingyue saw that everyone was praising Yen, and her mouth was full of jealousy. "Then go shoot it if you have the ability. Who was the one who randomly released magic just now? If it weren't for this lady's agility, I would have been killed by your magic instead of being injured by the hellbird." Emperor sneered at the side. What a joke. Just now the fog was hazy, and Li Xingyue randomly released fire explosion. If Dong Huanglinger hadn't dodged quickly, she would have been burned to death. Isn't that so? Some people are very powerful, but when they go on stage they become cowards. Qin Yangan also took the opportunity to mock. "If you have the ability, let's see who's the real deal in the next round." Li Xingyue had a stomach full of anger. "No need to be proud. This time it's your win. However, you won't be so lucky in the next round. Huang Fushi pulled Li Xingyue away. No matter what, they had already entered the next day's semifinals. Today's matter was a little strange. Huang Fushi was also very doubtful about how Yen had recognized the Hellbird's true whereabouts. Could it be that he really had something extraordinary about him? If that was really the case, then he would have to use some underhanded tricks in the next round. The fourth team's match also ended very quickly. In the match with the three-headed demon dog, it was actually a draw. The four team members all lost their ability to fight, and at the same time the three-headed demon dog also fainted. The battle was unprecedentedly intense, and the audience in the arena was very carefree. Immediately after, the fifth team went on stage and faced the Thunder Wolves. But it was only a quarter of an hour. Sixth team, it's your turn. The third match had just ended. The staff quickly walked in. What's going on? The match ended so quickly? Qin Yangan still wanted to ask Yen for advice on how to deal with a commander-level magical beast. The fifth team forfeited and the audience is making a ruckus. Second young master wants you to quickly go on stage. The staff looked impatient. The fifth team actually forfeited. This result was very surprising to everyone. According to the rules that Tianyi Dong had announced before the match, there were only two ways to end the match. Forfeit before the match or die in the match. However, every team only had one chance to forfeit. The fifth team chose to forfeit. Although they managed to preserve their lives, they had no way out for the rest of the competition. After taking a few steps forward, Qin Yangan suddenly turned around and walked in front of Yen. Then he pulled out a bag of gold coins. If I'm not wrong, you should be from the Heaven-Felling Hunting Corps, right? Just now, when the Flame Emperor appeared, the people from the Heaven-Felling Hunting Corps shouted loudly. Qin Yangan saw that Yan's style of doing things was very heroic, and he could tell that he had been in the Hunting Corps before. Yan did not deny it. Even though she was no longer in the Hunter Corps, she was still a hunter. As a hunter, he should not refuse a mission under any circumstances. Seeing that Yen did not deny it, Qin Yangan was even more relieved. He entrusted Yen with a mission at the last minute. Over the years he had gone through life and death in the Skywing Arena, saving up 100,000 gold coins, which was 10,000 purple coins. He used 1,000 gold coins to pay Yen Dang's commission fee. If he could return after the competition, Yen would keep the gold coins for him temporarily. If he met with an accident in the arena, he hoped that Yen Dang could collect his corpse. When she left the Skywing Arena, she would send his ashes and those gold coins to Later Qin, to a woman called Li Qin in Later Qin. I'm not at ease leaving it to others, so I'll leave it to you. Qin Yangan smiled foolishly. Big brother Qin, you will win. Unicorns usually don't take the initiative to attack people. As long as you don't provoke it, you'll still have a chance to tie, Yen encouraged. My intuition is very accurate. I keep feeling that something bad is about to happen. Qin Yong'an's expression was as usual, as if they were talking about someone else's life and death. Everyone who came to the Skywings arena had their own difficulties that they had no choice but to do. When Qin Yangan entered the Skywing arena alone to participate in the competition, he knew that there would be a day when he would die in the arena. He did not fear death, but the long-cherished wish in his heart had not been fulfilled, so he was somewhat unwilling. In the arena, the spectators cursed him for being a coward, and the fifth team could only retreat dejectedly, not daring to utter a word after returning to the lounge. In the first 4 matches, the magical beast had won 2, the teams had won 2, and the other had tied. However, the first team that had fought the Glacier Raging Elephant only had 2 people left, and the outcome was already decided. Although the fourth team had tied, they had no way of competing the next day in their exhausted state. The only teams that could truly enter the next day's competition were the first, third, fifth, and the sixth team that was about to take the field. Even Tianyi Dong, who had arranged the competition, had not expected such a situation. It was already dark, and before the start of the last match, Tianyi Dong called Tianyi Yu over, accompanied by Kong Fei. What's going on? Look at the contestants of the Yellow Wings division. How could they be so weak? Tianyi Dong called Tianyi Yu over and fiercely reprimanded her. These contestants have all been through hundreds of battles and are definitely not weak. Tianyi Yu cast a sidelong glance at Kong Fei. I feel that there's something wrong with the magical beasts in the division. She had noticed earlier that this time, the magical beasts could be said to have performed exceptionally well. Especially in the arena, they were incomparably ferocious. What problem can there be? The Yellow Wings division has never been strong. Second young master, you don't have to worry. These magical beasts are so valiant that even if all the contestants are defeated, with this batch of magical beasts, the Black Wings division will definitely make a fortune next year. Kong Fei gloated. Today's competition is almost over. We can only check the situation of the magical beasts tomorrow. Tianyi Dong looked at the restless spectators and felt a headache coming on. After Qin Yong'an's warning, he strode out with several comrades. Let's go out and take a look, the emperor suggested. In any case, today's competition was already over, and the two from Lionheart followed him out. In the arena, the light unicorn still maintained its original form, its posture graceful. The members of the sixth team walked into the arena. Refund. Refund. Due to the forfeiture incident in the previous round, many spectators were clamoring for a refund. Everyone. At the critical moment, Judge Wuxia waved his hand, a meaningful smile on his lips. Wuxia is willing to guarantee with his life that the next round will definitely be more exciting than the previous ones. Yen, aren't unicorns the most peaceful magical beasts? Why does that judge mean that there's going to be a tough battle next? The emperor tugged at Yen. The legend of unicorns had a long history on the continent. It's hard to say. The hellbird earlier also looked harmless. If I'm not wrong, the lower the serial number, the stronger the magical beast. Yen also stared at the unicorn. The competition has officially begun. Wuxia's voice fell. Chapter 690. That seemingly peaceful unicorn suddenly raised its front legs and leaped high into the air. Its horn and the moon in the sky merged into one, reflecting a dazzling ray of light. It actually released a magic beast battle technique the moment it entered the arena. Hoo! The light unicorn let out a long neigh. A magical ripple spread out rapidly from the center of the arena. The fifth, ninth and Zong personalities' eyebrows twitched. They couldn't help but look at the ring in their hands. Yan's hand tightened and he blurted out, "Summon." Any summoner would have felt the wave of magical wave emitted from the unicorn at that moment. That was a special magical wave that only a summoner would emit. This light unicorn was actually a magic beast that could be summoned. A black fog appeared in the arena. The fog was getting thicker and thicker. From within, a tall and strong pure black unicorn galloped out. It had a red mane, bright red eyes, and a streamlined body. It was a rarely seen dark unicorn. Not good. It's a red blood unicorn. The red blood unicorn was also known as an anomaly among the unicorns. Only one red blood unicorn would appear in 1,000 unicorns. Red blood unicorns were different from other unicorns. They were cruel by nature. They used blood as water and flesh to survive. Once a red blood unicorn appeared, it meant death and disaster. The four contestants also realized what kind of demon they were facing. Qin Yong'an's voice was hoarse as he clenched his fist. Brothers, life and death and glory are at this moment. We can't retreat. The remaining three contestants were also hot-blooded. They shouted in unison, "Kill." Two martial artists rushed forward. The remaining two mages also started chanting at the same time. Their battle techniques attacked the two unicorns like a swarm of bees. The light unicorn let out a long neigh and a ray of light shone. When the two mages chanting met the ray of light, it was like fire meeting water, unable to condense. This was magic immunity? Everyone's heart suddenly stopped beating. In the arena, the red blood unicorn was as fast as lightning. In front of it, the warriors were as weak as babies. This was not a competition at all, but a massacre. The horn of the crimson unicorn pierced into Qin Yong'an's heart like a sharp blade. Yen only felt that his heart was about to stop. But the competition couldn't be stopped. In the final round, all four contestants died. Ugh. Li Xingyue was vomiting non-stop at the side. Her face was pale as she pulled at Huangfu Shi. "Monster, that is a monster, lion, we cannot compete with that monster." Huangfu Shi's situation wasn't any better. Although his strength was slightly better than Qin Yong'an's, it was only slightly better. In front of the crimson blood unicorn, the sixth squad was as easy as chopping a watermelon with a kitchen knife. What light unicorn? Saying that it was the most peace-loving magical beast was all a lie. This competition was simply a death match. Anyone who encountered the pair of unicorns would die. The two men from Lionheart were frightened and lost their will to fight. The sixth match, light unicorn wins. Wuxia was indifferent to the tragic situation in the arena. He was just a referee. For him, it didn't matter whether the contestants or people died. After Wuxia announced the result of the competition, he was about to leave the arena. "Wait, what are you doing?" Wuxia saw Yen come over alone. Although the competition was over, the crimson blood unicorn was still glaring at them. Even Wuxia, as the referee, didn't dare to enter the arena at this time. Collect the body. Yen walked step by step towards Qin Yong'an's body. She accepted this man's request to collect his body. The audience in the stadium was still immersed in the massacre that had just taken place. Seeing Yan's behavior, everyone thought that she was scared out of her wits. Leave immediately or there will be consequences. Wuxia warned. The crimson blood unicorn was in a killing frenzy. At this time no one, not even Wuxia, dared to get too close to it. But Yen walked directly in front of it. No one could guarantee that the crimson blood unicorn wouldn't do anything. Yen walked forward as if he didn't hear anything. About 100 steps away, Qin Yong'an was lying on the ground. This was a straightforward man. Just a moment ago he had invited her to drink. She had promised to treat him and the elves to fruit wine. But now he would stay on this land forever. She was afraid that she would have to toast him in front of his grave. The crimson blood unicorn also noticed this reckless human. Its front hooves were slightly bent, ready to pierce Yan's chest at any time. It stared at Yen, its horn glaring coldly as if it wanted to intimidate this reckless man. A wave of pressure surged over. The crimson blood unicorn paused, a trace of confusion in its blood-red eyes. This kind of pressure. A human-like fear flashed through the crimson blood unicorn's red eyes. It turned its head and saw a black-clothed man staring at it from the spectator seats not far away. Even in the eyes of magical beasts, humans were divided into different classes. Cowards, courting death, and the strong. That man was a powerhouse among humans. The pressure was coming from the man. It was as if the crimson blood unicorn had violated his territory. At this moment, the ninth caller sharply raised her eyebrows and searched the audience. Just now, she seemed to have smelled a familiar yet strange pressure. This kind of pressure was familiar, as if she had encountered it a long time ago. But she was sure that this kind of pressure was very strong, even stronger than that of a king-level magical beast. While the crimson blood unicorn was hesitating, Yen had already bent down and was about to pick up Qin Yong'an's body when a pair of hands snatched it away. Yen was stunned. Let me do it. I don't like my woman touching other men, Yi Baiming whispered in Yan's ear under the watchful eyes of the audience. His voice was very low and magnetic, gently brushing past Yan's ear. Although there was a mask between them, Yan's ears immediately turned red. He gritted his teeth and said in his heart, this damned man. Who was his woman? Besides, it was just a corpse in front of him. He was even jealous of a corpse. Was this man born to be petty? There was an uproar in the audience. Elder Yu's eyes were as wide as lanterns. He had seen a ghost. Yi Baiming, who had always been afraid of trouble, actually took the initiative to help someone. Collect the corpse? Yi Baichen tugged at his mother's sleeve. Mother, doesn't Brother Ming hate dirty things the most? Ever since he could remember, Yi Baichen remembered that his second brother was never willing to carry him because he found it dirty. In the eyes of the young Yi Baichen, there was no concept of death. To him, Qin Yong'an's corpse was just a dirty thing. Maybe it's because your second brother treasures that woman very much and he doesn't want to dirty her hands. Disappointment appeared in Empress Wenren's eyes. Chapter 691. Regardless of what the woman behind the mask looked like at this moment, she, the great Zhou's Empress, was envious of the woman called Yen. After disposing of Qin Yong'an's body, Yen returned to the lounge. Yi Baiming continued to be his guest of honor. In the lounge, Emperor and Lionheart were confronting each other. If we meet that unicorn tomorrow, just forfeit. Lionheart's two people looked at Yen as if she was crazy. Yen actually disregarded her own safety to collect Qin Yong'an's body. They had only met once. What a fool. I don't agree. No matter what happens tomorrow, we can't forfeit. Yan's point of view was the same as Emperor's. If they wanted to get the title of King of Combat before the end of the year, they had to maintain a winning record in the following matches. Are you stupid? This is a tactic. If we meet the unicorn and fight to the death, even if we win, we won't have any strength left for the match the day after tomorrow. Forfeiting is just a temporary compromise. Li Xinhua was dissatisfied. There are 4 of us. If 2 forfeit and 2 fight according to the rules, we still have to fight. I don't want to forfeit, Yen said firmly. Yen, you have to think carefully. This time I also agree with Lionheart's idea. Tianyu walked in. When Yen was collecting Qin Yong'an's body, Tianyu was very worried. Tianyu also noticed that the unicorn was very strong. The crimson blood unicorn's strength was too strong. Almost all the contestants who fought against it were killed. The light unicorn was protected by the red blood. It was impossible to defeat it. The current situation was the most favorable for the third team. The fourth team had clearly indicated that they would forfeit the following matches because of exhaustion. The teams that could participate in the competition were the first, third, and fifth teams. Among them, the first team only had 2 people left. Their chances of winning were very low. The fifth team had already forfeited a match. They could only fight tomorrow. If Yen and Emperor forfeited the next match, they could directly enter the final round. Moreover, they could avoid the unicorn. From a tactical point of view, this was indeed the most reasonable. The Heavenly Winged Jade also came to persuade the 2 of them. After all, their opponent this time was many times more powerful than Lu Qingqing after her Beast Blood Berserk transformation. We still intend to give it a try. In the end, under the Flame Emperor's insistence, Lionheart could only watch helplessly. At the end of the night's competition, they also drew lots for the next day's competition. As a result of the draw, the third team did not meet the unicorns. Instead, they met the lava lizard. Seeing the result of the draw, Lionheart heaved a sigh of relief. The fifth battle team's luck was very bad this time. They drew the light unicorn. The faces of the members of the battle team looked as if their mother had died. The first battle team drew Thunderwolves. After the results of the drawing of lots were announced, a large amount of bets were placed on the peripheral betting boards. The amount of bets placed on the light unicorn's participation in the finals was already as high as 150, and the odds of winning were already as high as 150. This was also the highest payout rate the Hidden Knight Pavilion had ever encountered since they had established the Skywing's peripheral betting market. It could be said that everyone thought highly of the light unicorn. After drawing lots, Empress Yan Yan suddenly disappeared. When she returned, Empress Yan Yan even curiously asked her where she had gone. "You will know after the competition." Yan Yan did not say clearly. After returning from today's competition, although Yun Sheng and Dong Huang did not use much magic power, they were still very tired. After the 2 returned, Gufeng still asked about Empress Yan Yan's performance in the competition. Dong Huang had a fierce look on her face as she yelled at him a few times. Only then did that brat leave with his tail between his legs. Late at night. In the Profound Wings competition zone, there were many intense competitions during the day. 3 of the 6 magical beast cages were empty. In the remaining 3 cages, the commander magical beasts were crawling. At the city gate of Skywing City, several city guards were chatting about the competition during the day. No one noticed that in the skies above Skywing City, there was a pair of sharp eyes shining with golden light. They were hidden in the clouds, quietly hiding beneath Skywing City. Suddenly, the entire Skywing City trembled violently. This feeling was as if an earthquake had suddenly occurred somewhere on the continent. However, how could Skywing City, known as the city in the sky, experience an earthquake? Boom, 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 the tremors became louder and louder. Finally, those city guards turned pale with fright. They rushed to report, "Someone is attacking the magic array." Below Skywing City, in the depths of the clouds, there was a huge magic array that supported the entire Skywing City to float in the sky. In the City Lord's mansion, the Skywing City Lord and the others had already rushed over after hearing the commotion. In the inn, Yun Sheng and the others were also awakened by the commotion. Yun Sheng, it's Elder Hulian's communication firework. Dong Huang did not know what had happened. She pushed open the window and happened to see a firework that symbolized the signal of the magic elite camp rising rapidly in the sky not far away. Yun Sheng and the other 3 immediately rushed to Elder Hulian's location. When they rushed onto the street, they discovered that the street was already filled with people. Most of the people were still asleep and were awakened by the strange tremors. "Ah, it's collapsing. The ground is collapsing." A series of frightened cries sounded. In the middle of the street, a 5 to 6 meter wide hole suddenly appeared. At least 4 or 5 people fell into the hole in an instant. Yun Sheng and Dong Huang did not dare to act rashly. Dong Huang cast wind magic on the 4 of them and rushed in Elder Hulian's direction. When they arrived, almost everyone from the magic elite camp was already there. Even Elder Yu was there. Everyone from the warrior elite camp was also present. Yi Baiming was also standing in the crowd. "We just received news that the magical beasts in the Skywings arena have gone on a rampage. Just half an hour ago, several commander-level magical beasts killed many keepers and fled to the south of the city." Elder Hulian's hair was still disheveled and his face was red. "I'm afraid that it's the work of that king-level magical beast. The magic array below Skywing City is under attack. If it's not handled properly, the entire city might collapse." Elder Yu's expression was grave. The 2 elders did not expect that they would encounter such a thing during this training. At first, the escape of the king-level magical beast seemed to be a coincidence. But now, it seemed that everything, including the escape of the commander-level magical beast, was premeditated. In just a quarter of an hour, Sky Wing City had already descended into chaos. There were people crying everywhere. From time to time, the streets and city walls would collapse. Countless people were crushed to death and fell into the holes. This feeling was very similar to the scenes in the apocalyptic movies that Yun Sheng had seen in her previous life. At this time, Elder Hellion and Elder Yu had also buried the hatchet and stopped fighting. The two immediately decided to let all the students board the empty ship, and think of a way to leave Skywing City. Chapter 692. One king-level magical beast and several commander-level magical beasts. Although there were not many of them, each of them was not to be underestimated. Most of the people already knew about this terrible news. The first thought of those who owned airships and flying magical beasts was to escape from Skywing City immediately. Everyone boarded the airship. At this time, an airship became extremely precious. As soon as the elite camp members boarded the airship, a large number of warriors and mages who did not own airships wanted to climb on board. Elder Hulian's airship was not big and could only accommodate 50 people at most. There were also reserves on board. If there were more people, it would not be able to fly. Helplessly, Elder Hellion could only take action and kill a few people. Only then did the airship successfully take off. In the air, many airships quickly flew forward together. But at this time, the airship flying at the front suddenly smashed into pieces in mid-air. Wait! Elder Yu took the lead and transformed his fighting energy into wings. He went forward to explore the path ahead. Unexpectedly, not long after Elder Yu left the airship and flew for a few thousand meters, an obstacle appeared in front of him, making it difficult for him to move forward. He quickly returned. There's a domain boundary in front. What? How can there be a domain boundary? That king-level magical beast has comprehended a domain boundary? After hearing this news, Elder Hellion and the other students' faces changed slightly. A domain boundary was a very special existence. Among the magical beasts, only king-level magical beasts, martial emperors, and even master summoners could comprehend a domain boundary. A domain boundary was of a higher level than profound magic. I'm afraid it's worse than this. It's not just one king-level magical beast, but two. Elder Yu's eyes were deep as he looked at the dark sky. At the top of the sky, which was the periphery of the domain boundary, there was a pair of golden eyes. The eyes were hidden in the clouds and their specific appearance could not be seen clearly. One king-level magical beast was enough of a headache. Now there were two king-level magical beasts. At this time, all the hunters on the airships had only one impulse. *CK. It turned out that the king-level magical beast had disappeared for so long to get reinforcements. Since it could not win in a one-on-one battle, it decided to gang up. Shameful, too shameful. Without exception, all the airships and flying magical beasts encountered the domain boundary. No one could get out. Skywing City was slowly collapsing, and the empty ships couldn't fly out. If this continued, even if there was an empty ship without supplies, everyone would starve to death here. Elder Hellion furrowed his brows. He gathered everyone on the ship, including Chen Liener. Today's matter is urgent. Everyone retrieve your storage equipment immediately. Remember, your life is the most important thing. Every student took back their equipment with a solemn expression. Yun Sheng put on the beast speech ring and quickly took out the Millennium Ice Zither from the ring. Yi Baiming stood alone at the bow of the ship, staring at the invisible domain barrier. Right now, everyone inside and outside Skywing City was facing a predicament. Vile creatures. You actually dare to offend my heavenly wing city? This city lord will dismember all of you into 10,000 pieces. In this moment of crisis, an omnipresent voice sounded from the sky. That voice was filled with majesty. In such an urgent moment, it was like a stabilizing needle that calmed everyone's anxious hearts. In the pitch-black night sky, a golden rainbow flew over like a bolt of lightning. It shuttled through the densely packed flying magical beasts and airships with ease. A dignified man with a square face stepped on the golden red light. He was dressed in a golden dragon warrior robe. In the night wind he didn't move at all, following the man's roar. The king-level magical beast that was hidden under the clouds finally couldn't hold back. The clouds dispersed, and a huge eagle appeared out of nowhere like a treasured sword. The size of the eagle exceeded Yun Sheng's common sense. Its body was dozens of meters long. In the dark night, its two golden eyes shone like an invincible bomber flying at night. Its entire body was covered in sharp, murderous aura. Its entire body was golden, except for the top of its head, which was white. It looked majestic. From its beak to its feathers and claws, the Eagle King's entire body was filled with murderous aura. It looked down from above, overlooking the clouds like a king that ruled the world. The airships, Skywing City, Skywing Venerable, all the people and things were so insignificant in front of it. It's out, it's out. It's this damn thing that's blocking our way. Kill it. Once they saw the Eagle King appear, the first few airships launched attacks. Countless spells and battle techniques were shot out, all focused on the Eagle King. The warriors and mages didn't care about the white-crowned Eagle King's body at all. It even circled in the air provocatively, sometimes dodging, sometimes facing the attacks head-on. Those spells and battle techniques landed on its body, but not a single feather was harmed. When the Skywing City Lord saw this, the golden rainbow beneath his feet suddenly soared into the sky and turned into a streak of light as fast as the wind. The light shadow hit the boundary of the territory with a boom, and the entire boundary made a sound like glass that was about to shatter. Hearing this sound, the white-crowned Eagle King's golden brown eyes had a hint of vigilance. Eagles were the kings of the sky. The white-crowned Eagle King was a bird of prey recorded in the books of magical beasts on the continent. It was an extremely rare magical beast that only resided on snowy peaks tens of thousands of meters high. It was proficient in wind and water magic. It was recorded in the Handbook of Magical Beasts on the continent that although the white-crowned Eagle King was a magical beast, it was born in the snowy mountains. Its bones and even its hair were tempered by the wind, as if it was wearing the best armor. Long-range magic attacks and close combat attacks below the level of a martial sage were all ineffective. Today it was indeed so. The Eagle King was extremely fast, and ordinary airships were no match for it. It seemed to have been angered by the Skywing Venerable's words. Pah! The white-crowned Eagle King suddenly flapped its huge wings. A hurricane appeared out of nowhere in the sky, and the sea of clouds churned. For a moment, the sky seemed to have turned into an ocean. The hurricane swept up the clouds and rushed toward the airship at the front like a huge wave. The people on the airship did not even have time to escape before they were blown to pieces by the hurricane. The people on the ship screamed for help, but in the blink of an eye, they fell into the air and crashed into the boundary of the territory, turning into pools of blood and flesh. The crowd witnessed this scene, but no one rashly made a move. In front of a king-level magical beast, ordinary experts were like ants. Overestimating one's abilities to save others was equivalent to courting death. The Skywing Venerable did not make a move either. He had limited manpower and would not waste his energy in the hands of useless people. The white-crowned Eagle King was extremely pleased with its success. Its eagle cry pierced through the clouds. When the eagle cry landed in the ears of the people, it was like spring thunder exploding in their ears. Yunxing only felt a buzzing pain in her bones. Some people could not bear it and pressed their ears. Chapter 693. This was followed by another series of collisions. The enraged Condor King flapped its wings a few more times. Before it could truly unleash its power, it had already affected many empty ships. The Condor King spread its wings and flew across the sky like a bomber. It was as fast as lightning. The clouds were smashed apart as if a layer of fog had suddenly appeared. Another hurricane swept towards the Skywing Lord. The Skywing Lord did not dodge. He stood in the air and with a shake of his right hand, the wind from his palm collided with the hurricane. His fighting aura and magic power immediately dissipated. Seeing the Skywing Lord's bravery, the originally frightened and uneasy people began to calm down. When Yunxing saw the collision and the tremor, she felt her heart thump heavily twice. This was a battle between true experts. It was so soul-stirring. The Skywing Lord and the Condor King were both the top experts of the continent. Top experts? So there is still such a big gap between me and them. The experience in the Skywing's arena had made Yunxing somewhat complacent for a time. But after seeing it today, she realized that only a true expert could stand tall between heaven and earth. One day she would definitely be like the Skywing Lord, stopping a king-level magical beast and breaking the boundary of a domain. Neither the unicorn nor the white-crowned Condor King in front of her could stop her. At this moment, Yunxing was on the empty ship, the blood in her body surging. So strong. On the empty ship of the elite camp, the students had all seen the scene up close. Most of them had not seen the match during the day and had not seen the battle between humans and magical beasts. Tonight, they had seen the Skywing Lord's power with their own eyes and were stunned. The power of the Condor King's wing and the Skywing Lord's palm was actually so powerful. When true experts exchanged blows, life and death were decided in a single breath. Elder Hellion and Elder Yu were also shocked. The Skywing City Lord had been famous for a long time, but very few people had seen him in action. Today they saw that the Skywing City Lord's strength was probably comparable to the two great elders of the elite camp. The Skywing Lord did not back down in the slightest when facing the Condor King. On the contrary, his eyes shone with excitement. This king-level demonic beast was not weak and could be his opponent. But just as the Skywing City Lord and the Condor King were locked in a stalemate, an even greater tremor came from the depths of the clouds. As the tremors continued, Skywing City was on the verge of collapse. Not good, I almost messed up the important matter. The Skywing City Lord secretly cried out in alarm. He had nearly fallen for the demonic beast's trick of luring the tiger away from the mountain. With this demonic beast king pestering him, the king-class demonic beast that had escaped earlier had most likely already entered the depths of the Sea of Clouds, searching for the magic array that supported Skywing City. There were also the numerous commander-grade magical beasts that had escaped from the Skywing's arena. There was still no sign of them and they were probably hiding in the Sea of Clouds. When Elder Hellion saw the Skywing City Lord, his heart calmed down slightly. The other party had a king-level magical beast that had comprehended a domain. On their side, they also had the City Lord of Skywing City, whose strength was unfathomable. Ladies and gentlemen, tonight's events are too sudden. Skywing City is now in a state of crisis. But fortunately, the situation has not reached its worst. I have already ascertained that there is a king-level magical beast within the magic array in the Sea of Clouds. The City Lord of Skywing City was indeed an extraordinary person of his generation. In such a predicament he could still remain calm and direct the citizens to carry out the rescue. Most of the city guards had already dispersed throughout the city, guiding the citizens and leading them to the relatively safe Skywing's arena. There were also some who were doing their best to rescue the injured citizens. The Skywing City Lord had already ascertained that the king-level magical beast that had escaped was somewhere in the clouds. He had wanted to personally go and kill it, but the Condor King that was outside the domain barrier had been eyeing it covetously. In terms of strength, the Condor King was more difficult to deal with than the other king-level magical beast. City Lord, we are willing to go with you to kill the Condor King. Elder Hellion and Elder Yu stepped forward. In terms of cultivation, Elder Hellion and Elder Yu were also one of the few peerless powerhouses in Skywing City. Only if they joined forces with the City Lord of Skywing City could they break the barrier. Thank you, Brother Hellion and Brother Yu. The Skywing City Lord was very grateful, but then he said, in addition to fighting against the king-level magical beast, we need another group of people to go to the Cloud Sea to guard the magic array. This was the most difficult problem for the Skywing City Lord at the moment. This group of people was going to the Cloud Sea to search for the other king-level magical beast so their strength could not be weak. But there were limited experts at the moment, so where could he find a group of trustworthy and competent people? Father, I am willing to go. I can also bring a few veterans of the arena with me. The Skywing City Lord volunteered himself. The crisis in Skywing City this time was both an opportunity and a crisis for him. As long as he could kill the king-level magical beast and resolve the crisis in Skywing City, he would be able to gain his father's favor. Father, my cultivation is about the same as second brother's. I'm also willing to go. How could the Skywing City Lord be willing to fall behind? The Skywing City Lord nodded. He then looked at the mainland's elite camp's empty ship. Are there any magicians in the elite camp who know how to heal? After entering the Cloud Sea, anything could happen. It was very advantageous to have a magician. Gufeng. Elder Hellion had just called out Gufeng's name. Elder Hellion, I am willing to go, Yunsheng interrupted. Yunsheng was unwilling to let Gufeng go. She had taken back the beast speech ring in Bingqin. Even if they encountered the king-level magical beast, they could still put up a fight. Your disciple is also willing to go. As soon as Yunsheng finished speaking, Yi Baiming unhurriedly followed up. Elder, your disciple also wants to go and redeem himself. Chen Lianer, who had been cowering at the side and not speaking, was unwilling to see Yi Baiming and Yunsheng together. She hurriedly pleaded. That's good. All of you have to be careful. Elder Hellion thought about it. Yunsheng was much smarter than Gufeng. Her elven magic was also very outstanding and she was also a doctor. She was more suitable than Gufeng to go and help. The Skywing City Lord immediately decided on the candidates for the Cloud Sea search team. The Skywing City Lord and his brother selected a few more people. A group of people immediately boarded a brand new empty ship and entered the Cloud Sea. Your disciple. Feng Tian had just opened his mouth. Feng Tian, our empty ship still needs people to guard it. You lead a group of brothers and sisters to guard here, Elder Helion hurriedly advised. He did not want Feng Tian to meet Yi Biming again. Feng Tian's eyes darkened and he did not speak again. Once they boarded the empty ship, Yun Xing saw a few familiar faces. Chen Lianer's expression changed slightly. Skywing Jade and eldest young mistress were also on the ship. The Skywing brothers had already gone out, so Skywing Jade could only participate in order to avoid arousing suspicion. As for eldest young mistress, she immediately followed after hearing that Chen Lianer was also on the empty ship. Skywing Jade's matter had just stopped a while ago, and she did not want another vixen to hook up with eldest young master. Eldest young master could not help but smile when he saw Chen Lianer. However, Chen Lianer's face was wooden and looked serious. Everyone on the ship had their own thoughts as they headed towards the Cloud Sea. Chapter 694. In the Skywing City Beast Riot this time, the magical beasts in the Skywing and Darkwing districts had fled. A large number of mid-tier, high-tier and even commander-level magical beasts had fled, and some high-tier magical beasts were still missing. A rough estimate suggested that about 100 magical beasts might have entered the Sea of Clouds. Big brother, second brother, in addition to our empty ship, some contestants have spontaneously organized to enter the Sea of Clouds. In order to resolve this crisis as soon as possible, the Skywing City Lord issued a City Lord's order. Kill a mid-tier magical beast and accumulate a regular season record. Killing a high-level magical beast would add up to a month's worth of results. Killing a commander-level magical beast would allow him to accumulate a year's worth of achievements. Kill a king-level magical beast and accumulate a fighting king record. As soon as the City Lord's order was announced, a large number of contestants entered the Sea of Clouds. This included Lionheart and the others. The empty ship left Skywing City and kept sinking. After boarding the ship, Yun Xing listened to Channy Yu roughly describe the current situation in the lower city. The situation isn't good. My mother has already ordered people to move the items in the treasure boat. The city is now in chaos and many buildings have been damaged. Channy Yu told Yun Xing about the city's situation. Everyone, the empty ship is about to enter the maze of clouds. Everyone, please pay attention, Channy Dong reminded. The empty ship's speed suddenly increased. A large sea of clouds appeared in front of them. It was only today that Yun Xing learned that there was a maze of clouds below Skywing City. This sea of clouds was very unique. The clouds outside the Sea of Clouds were like smoke without a physical body. However, the clouds in the Sea of Clouds were all physical and were also called Cloud Islands, where empty ships and the like could be birthed. The magic array was located at the northernmost part of the Sea of Clouds. Everyone, the Sea of Clouds is ahead. After entering the Sea of Clouds, because there are many Cloud Islands and they will drift with the wind for safety reasons, those who can't fly can only ride flying magical beasts or wait on the empty ship, Tianyi Dong said. Taking advantage of everyone's attention focused on the Sea of Clouds, Yun Xing suddenly whispered in Channy Yu's ear, Sister Yu, try to guard the entrance to the Sea of Clouds later. I'll think of a way to finish off the Skywing brothers in the Sea of Clouds. Channy Yu was slightly startled and thought to herself, how did Yun Xing know what she was thinking? The reason why the Heavenly Winged Jade had come along was because it already had a plan in mind. Unexpectedly, the two of them looked at each other and saw the admiration in each other's eyes. Just as Channy Dong ordered the empty ship to stop at the nearest Cloud Island. Before the empty ship came to a stop, it suddenly heard a low beast roar from the clouds. Everyone on the empty ship was shocked. Not good, there are magic beasts lurking under the clouds. Channy Dong discovered it too late. The originally tranquil Cloud Island suddenly began to tumble. A terrifying eyeless magical beast emerged from the clouds. It crashed into the empty ship. The entire empty ship was instantly pierced through. The people on the empty ship were caught off guard and fell one after another. At the moment of falling, Yun Xing did not hesitate to use the transformation spell. She immediately merged with the Bobo egg and summoned Tycoon Gold. Yun Xing pulled Chu Yu, who was the closest to her. With Yi Biming's cultivation, there was no way he would be in any danger. Yun Xing, what are you? Channy Yu was shocked. She had never seen Yun Xing like this. Sister Yu, the Sea of Clouds is very dangerous. I've already ordered people to come and get you. After Yun Xing warned her, she released a signal into the Sea of Clouds. Soon, a group of giant winged bat dragons flew over, with Oriole and 10 magic warriors sitting on them. Tianyi Yu could not help but be stunned when she saw who it was. Oriole saw Tianyi Yu and did not immediately speak. Sister Yu is one of us. Just say it. Yun Xing nodded. Deputy Commander, everything is proceeding smoothly according to your orders. As soon as Tianyi City received the emergency signal, Yun Songlong immediately contacted Yun Sheng. Yun Sheng and second uncle discussed briefly before following on to the empty ship. The 4 night emissaries of the Hidden Night Pavilion have been killed by Commander and the others. Our brothers have already entered the Hidden Night Pavilion. We've already confiscated the doctors, magicians and some medicinal herbs and pills. Hidden Night Pavilion? When Tianyi Yu heard this, she could not help but look at Yun Sheng. Wasn't this clearly taking advantage of the situation? At present, Tianyi City was in chaos, and everyone was only concerned with running for their lives. Who would have thought that Yun Sheng would choose this time to clear out the Hidden Night Pavilion? However, this was indeed Yun Sheng's way of doing things. In Yun Sheng's philosophy of life, one who did not take advantage of the situation was a fool. However, we did not find Su Dagua of the Hidden Night Pavilion. He also took away a batch of precious medicinal herbs and dozens of doctors and magicians. We searched in private but did not find him. According to the people of the Hidden Night Pavilion, he might have entered the Sea of Clouds. It's not a problem. We can hide for a while but we can't hide forever. Sister Yu, go back with Oriole first. I'll take care of the rest. With 10 devil martial artists by her side, Yun Sheng was very confident about the next operation. Tianyi Yu had many questions. She had previously thought that Yun Sheng was a young lady from a large family on the continent. Who would have thought that she was actually the deputy leader of a super hunting corps like the Heaven Expedition Hunting Corps? There was also the group of martial artists with strange masks that Oriole had brought. Their do chi and magic power were very strong. Yun Sheng could actually command this group of strange guys by herself. It was too terrifying. Was this really an ability that a teenage girl should have? Tianyi Yu did not ask any more questions. She understood very well that this time, whether it was for Yun Sheng or her, it was a chance for them to rise up. Once Tianyi Yu and Oriole left, Yun Sheng and more than 10 devil martial artists entered the Sea of Clouds together. The king-level magic beast that had smashed through the airship quickly disappeared after its attack. There was no longer its aura in the surroundings. Yun Sheng's target today was that king-level devil beast in the Sea of Clouds. She was about to break through, and that king-level devil beast's soul stone could be used to inlay her magic scepter. From time to time, mid- and high-level devil beasts would appear in the surroundings, sniping and killing the martial artists and mages who had fallen from the void ship. Fragments of the void ship were everywhere. The moment the void ship was pierced, Yi Baiming immediately began to search for Yun Sheng's traces. But to his surprise, not only did he find Yun Sheng's aura, but he also found the aura of 10 devil martial artists at the same time. Yun Sheng's devil martial artists were trained by Yi Baiming, so he was very clear about their strength. It seemed that the little wildcat was going to do something big this time. If he intervened, she would probably be so anxious that she would stomp her feet. He was sure that Yun Sheng had the ability to protect herself. Yi Baiming immediately dodged into the clouds. After he transformed his chi into wings and flew for a while, suddenly, a terrified cry came from ahead. In front of him, a small piece of the wreckage of the void ship appeared. There were 2 people on it. Kong Fei, who was lying on his stomach, and Tianyi Dong, who was standing. Second young master, save me. Not far away, that crimson unicorn's eyes were red and murderous. As the person in charge of the Tianyi Dong arena, the devil beasts had long hated him to the bone. When Tianyi Dong was on the void ship just now, he had been accidentally injured by that king-level devil beast's magic, and now he had to drag Kong Fei down. Chapter 695. Scram. Tianyi Dong was unwilling to face this unicorn directly. He kicked Kong Fei away, transforming his battle chi into wings as he fled. Kong Fei was badly frightened. Seeing Tianyi Dong flee, his face was ashen. Suddenly, a figure appeared in front of him. As if he had seen his savior, Kong Fei hugged the person's leg. Second young master, I knew you wouldn't be so heartless. I followed you for so long. Only then did Kong Fei see clearly that the person who had come was not Tianyi Dong. What a handsome man. Kong Fei was also quite good-looking, but when he saw Yi Baiming, he could not help but be stunned. You are Tianyi Dong's boy toy? Yi Baiming still had some impression of Kong Fei. According to Long Tu, it was this sissy in front of him who had ostracized Yun Sheng. Yes, no sir. As long as you save Kong Fei will be yours in the future. Kong Fei looked at the man's attire. He was either rich or noble. He had been abandoned by Tianyi Dong. If he could climb up to this sir in front of him, it would be a good thing. Where is Tianyi Dong's Achilles heel? Yi Baiming lowered his eyes and looked at Kong Fei. After a martial artist cultivated to the martial saint realm, their entire body was invulnerable. Wanting to kill them was not easy. But as long as he had not broken through to martial emperor, there would definitely be an Achilles heel on his entire body. As long as he knew the Achilles heel, Yi Baiming could easily kill Tianyi Dong. Yi Baiming would definitely not waste his energy on things that could be done with less effort. Young master's Achilles heel is under his left abdomen. Kong Fei had just finished speaking when Yi Baiming suddenly kicked him away. In the sea of clouds, Yi Baiming was dressed in black and a black unicorn facing each other. You are not human. Why are you with a human? That unicorn suddenly spoke in human language. Commander-level magical beasts were already adults among magical beasts. They knew how to communicate in human language. You should not exist in the boundless world. It's useless to say more. I need your Dharma soul. Yi Baiming's body quietly changed. In an instant, his arms were covered with scales. There was a trace of fear in the crimson unicorn's eyes. The fist had already pierced through its chest. That was, in Yi Baiming's hand, a magical soul as pure as a black gemstone appeared. His Dharma soul gradually fused into Yi Baiming's body. Yi Baiming's 5 elemental Dharma spirits immediately grew in size. If Yun Sheng saw Yi Baiming's special cultivation method, she would definitely be shocked. No wonder Yi Baiming's cultivation speed was so heaven-defying. His method of cultivating magic was to directly devour magic souls. A red light flashed across Yi Baiming's gray eyes. He narrowed his eyes and looked around for the second commander-level magical beast. Very quickly Yi Baiming found the whereabouts of the Thunder Wolf. As long as he devoured the Dharma souls of the commander-level and king-level magical beasts that escaped from the arena, he would be able to break through very quickly. He kept the Crimson Unicorn's corpse in his storage device. Yi Baiming then looked at the sea of clouds. He revealed a mischievous smile and disappeared into the sea of clouds. Not long after, Yun Sheng led 10 demon warriors to this area. Yun Sheng frowned slightly. Strange? Just now, she clearly felt that there was a commander-level magical beast nearby. Why did the magical beast's aura disappear without a trace when she arrived? Forget it, she should look for the next one. Yun Sheng immediately ordered the 10 demon warriors beside her to spread out. Once they found any magical beasts above the commander level, they were to inform her immediately. Not long after Yun Sheng and the 10 demon warriors separated, the light unicorn appeared in the sea of clouds in front of them. You're the one I'm looking for. Yun Sheng was secretly delighted, but she was also a little nervous. She was already holding the summoning hand in her hand. When the light unicorn came closer, Yun Sheng discovered that the light unicorn was seriously injured. Blood had already dyed its pure white fur red. It also discovered Yun Sheng. Under its gentle big eyes, there was endless sorrow. The light unicorn had already sensed the aura of a summoner from Yun Sheng's body. Human, I will not contract with you. The dignity of the unicorn clan cannot be trampled on. The light unicorn opened its mouth to speak. Was it you who killed my crimson blood? The light unicorn was a female beast. The lover it spoke of was the crimson unicorn. It's dead? Yun Sheng couldn't help but be surprised. No wonder the female light unicorn was seriously injured. Get out of the way, it's our prey. 2 more voices came from behind. The 2 men from the Lionheart clan each rode a flying demon beast and flanked the light unicorn from the left and right. When the 2 men from the Lionheart clan found out that the city lord had issued the city lord's order, they immediately entered the sea of clouds, wanting to take advantage of the chaos to kill 1 or 2 demon beasts. Who would have thought that they would be lucky enough to encounter a lone light unicorn? After confirming that the crimson unicorn was not around, they launched a frenzied attack on the light unicorn. The light unicorn was no match for them. After being seriously injured, it could only hide in the depths of the sea of clouds. Yun Sheng was not wearing a mask, so the 2 men from the Lionheart clan did not know that she was Yen. Li Xinhua saw Yun Sheng's appearance clearly. She saw that she had a pair of wings on her back. Looking at her face, there was a trace of jealousy. Where did this monster come from? I advise you to get out of here quickly. This light unicorn is ours. The light unicorn was on the verge of death, and there was no way to save it. However, Yun Sheng was very interested in the soul stone on its body. Gu Feng was about to break through soon. With his special magic attribute, if he could match the light unicorn soul stone, his cultivation would definitely increase greatly. The two men from the Lionheart clan had a good plan. As long as they could kill this light unicorn, they might have a chance to win this year's annual tournament. At that time, Yin Huang would not be able to obtain any glory. That soul stone, I want it. Yun Xing did not relent. After hearing Yun Xing's voice, Li Xingyue was like a cat whose tail had been stepped on. She almost jumped off the back of the light unicorn. You're Yen. The two men from the Lionheart clan turned pale with fright. They had thought that Yen would at least be a female magician around their age. However, the girl in front of them had tender skin and a pair of black eyes that were like stars. She did not look old at all. You have good eyesight, but you're not very lucky. I am Yen, but I'm not the Yen from the arena. A magic array appeared under Yun Sheng's feet. Xiao He and the centipede ant general pounced out from the magic array. Xiao He bit Huangfu Lion's right arm, while the centipede ant general commanded countless ant soldiers to devour Li Xingyue in an instant. In less than 15 minutes, the two men from the Lionheart clan were wiped out. The light unicorn could no longer hold on. It lay on the clouds. Yun Sheng's little beasts surrounded her. When the light unicorn saw Yun Sheng's little beasts, it was as surprised as when Lionheart recognized Yun Sheng as Yen. Chapter 696. Most of Yun Sheng's summoned beasts were of extremely high ranks. With the exquisite beast pagoda, apart from the puffed egg whose rank was unknown, the other beasts had all broken through to the commander rank. A summoner who could contract multiple beasts, and each of them was at the commander rank. What kind of concept was that? Perhaps even the continent's Emperor Zhao might not have this ability. The light unicorn knew that it was going to die today, but it wasn't afraid. The female summoner in front of it was very strong. She didn't lack beasts, she only wanted its soul stone. I can give you my soul stone, but I have a wish. Please leave my horn. If you have the chance to find Crimson Blood's horn in the future, perhaps you can use our horns to refine a pair of special magic tools. A tear fell from the corner of the light unicorn's eye. The tear was red. Yun Xing wasn't in a hurry to act. Ever since she had a portion of the blood of beasts, she had a special feeling for them. It wasn't until the light unicorn had breathed its last that Yun Xing took action, digging out its horn and soul stone. The light unicorn was a very special kind of beast. It could only have one partner in its lifetime. For Crimson Blood, its partner was already dead, and it didn't want to live alone. After receiving its soul stone, Yun Sheng extracted a part of its memories from the soul stone. The light unicorn was originally a beast that lived in a forest in Penglai. It was born in a large family of unicorns that had more than 100 of them. However, it was born at the same time as another pair of unicorn heirs, and that was Crimson Blood. This was because light unicorns had snow-white fur from birth. Crimson Blood, with its black fur, was neglected by the other unicorns. Only the light unicorn was willing to play with it. It wasn't until the two unicorns had reached adulthood that a few unicorns suddenly died one day in the unicorn family. All the unicorns felt that it was bad luck brought by Crimson Blood, and they expelled Crimson Blood. When Crimson Blood left the forest, Light Unicorn Su also left with it. However, due to an accident, the Light Unicorn had been captured by the Skywings Arena, and Scarlet Blood had stayed with Dawn in the Skywings Arena. Although the arena was a place filled with slaughter, it was a rare place where the two unicorns could pass their days peacefully. It wasn't until Channy Dong got excited and reformed the Xuanyi division that Kong Fei secretly ordered people to add forbidden drugs to the food of the magical beasts, which led to the abnormal behavior of the magical beasts during the annual competition. Who would have thought that there would be such an emotional love between magical beasts? Yun Xing sighed. Well, I will find the Red Blood's horn and let you two meet again. Master, there's a powerful magic wave coming from the northwest of the Sea of Clouds, a magic warrior reported. Looks like we found our target. Yun Sheng immediately cast a transformation spell and turned into an old-looking mage. Southeast of the Sea of Clouds, outside a huge magic array, the two groups of people were fighting. Tianyi Tua and his wife stood on one side, and on the other side was the Zhao State's 9th summoner, Hu Jiuxing, and the 5th summoner. Tianyi Tua had come prepared this time. He had a magic space in his hand, and a wailing magical beast was locked inside. The 9th summoner, Hu Jiuxing, glared at Tianyi Tua and his wife. The two of you, what is the meaning of this? The Zhao State and Skywing City have always had a good relationship. Do you want to become enemies with Skywing City? Tianyi Tua had stolen this cub from the competition area with great difficulty, and his goal was to lure out the king-level magical beast. Who would have thought that the ninth summoner would suddenly attack? Capturing a magical beast is one thing, and threatening it with its cub's life is another. Put it down. The ninth summoner looked at the cub. Do you really think this is the Zhao state? Others might be afraid of you, but I'm not. Tianyi Tua also threw a tantrum. He was anxious to make a contribution. As long as he killed the king-level magical beast, his father would definitely see him in a new light. Husband, don't worry about that woman. Bring the magical beast cub into the magic array and let it see blood first. I don't believe that its beast mother won't come out. Eldest young mistress's ugly face opened wide. To everyone's surprise, the first ones to find the magic array were the eldest master and the eldest mistress. You have me to thank. If I hadn't reminded you to bring this cub here, would you have found the magic array so easily? The eldest mistress's face was smug. My wife still loves me dearly. Don't worry, as long as I kill this beast, I will become the city lord, and you will definitely be the city lord's wife. Tianyi Tua said sweet words. The location of the Cloud Sea magic array was hard to find. Even the city lord of Skywing City had to spend a while to find it. Although the eldest mistress and the eldest master still had some grudges because of Chen Lianer's matter. But if she married a chicken, she would follow the chicken, and if she married a dog, she would follow the dog. The eldest mistress's thoughts were still on Tianyi Tua. Seeing that Tianyi Yu and Tianyi Dong were more capable than her husband, she was secretly anxious. This time Tianyi City was in chaos. As a woman, the eldest mistress was more careful. When she learned that the eldest master was going to enter the clouds to kill the king-level magical beast, she took advantage of the chaos to steal the cub of the king-level magical beast in the Shuani district and took it with her. Magical beasts had a keen sense of smell. With the help of this cub, they were the first to find the location of the king-level magical beast. In the magic array, the king-level magical beast also found its cub and kept roaring angrily. What the hell is this thing? It looks a little like a snake but also like an earthworm. The eldest mistress frowned and looked at the king-level magical beast. Who cares what it is? Let's kill it first. The eldest master rubbed his hands. If they didn't have the cub in hand with the couple's strength, they could only fight the king-level magical beast to a draw. When the king-level magical beast saw its cub in the hands of the eldest master and his wife, it didn't know what to do for a moment. But just as the couple was about to attack, there was a sudden shout from behind them. The two Zhao state summoners appeared. When the ninth summoner saw that the eldest master and his wife were threatening her with the cub, it was as if they had touched her reverse scale. Without another word, she started to fight with Tianyi Tua. The eldest mistress also started to fight with the fifth summoner. Hiss! The two sides were entangled in a fierce battle. For a moment, combat skills and magic were constantly used. The young magical beast was so frightened that it let out a sharp cry. The king-level magical beast was also enraged. It suddenly burrowed into the clouds and rushed straight toward the magic array. Its huge tail slammed into the magic array, and the entire sea of clouds suddenly churned. Tianyi City shook even more violently. Bastard, how dare you destroy my Tianyi City? I'll make you die without descendants. Tianyi Tua was furious. He raised the cub in his hand high and threw it from the sky. Hiss! The king-level magical beast let out a painful cry. She watched the cub fall from the sky into the clouds. Lightning flashed and thunder roared. A scene flashed through the ninth summoner's mind. Chapter 697. A small baby was born from one of the blood clouds. Someone wearing a summoner's robe cut out a child with a beast's tail from the blood clouds. They lifted the child up high and smashed him to the ground. The child didn't even have time to cry before he breathed his last and was smashed to death. The ninth summoner, Hu Jiuxing, glared angrily. Her silver hair was as hard as iron. It wrapped around Skywing Taiko's neck like vines and tightened bit by bit. Skywing Taiko found it difficult to breathe. Strands of hair dug into his skin and he couldn't gather his fighting energy. Skywing Taiko wanted to break free, but no matter how hard he struggled, the ninth summoner's hair tightened around him. The ninth summoner's hair was extremely tough. Skywing Taiko couldn't struggle at all. Let her go. Eldest mistress saw this and didn't want to tangle with the fifth summoner anymore. She rushed forward and fought the ninth summoner. She tore off the ninth summoner's mask. Under the mask, the beautiful face was as cold as ice. Even the eldest young mistress, who was a woman, felt her heart sway when she saw this otherworldly beautiful face. Whoosh! It was like the sound of a palm tearing through the air. Eldest mistress felt a warm current spurt out from her abdomen. She looked down and saw a fox tail piercing through her abdomen like the sharpest blade. The fox tail had come from the ninth summoner's back. Foxtail, eldest mistress realized that the Zao State's ninth summoner was actually the Zao State's main summoner, Beast. Eldest mistress didn't get to finish her sentence before she died. Skywing Taiko witnessed this scene and felt his liver and guts shatter. He couldn't catch his breath and also died. He died. Ninth summoner you? The fifth summoner's face changed drastically after witnessing this scene. He had always had suspicions about the ninth summoner's true identity, but he didn't expect to see it with his own eyes today. My head hurts. After killing 2 people, Hu Jiuxing's face was as white as a sheet. She curled up and trembled. Her mind was in a mess as if it was a paste. Ninth Lord Zhao, don't forget Lord Zhao Huang's orders. We have to bring that king-level magic beast back to report. Seeing that the ninth Lord Zhao was no longer attacking, the fifth Lord Zhao heaved a sigh of relief and hurriedly reminded him. In the magic array, the king-level magical beast, which had been extremely violent earlier, did not dare to move after seeing Hu Jiuxing reveal her half-beast form. Who's there? Hu Jiuxing suddenly raised her head and glared at the person in front of her. There was a person standing in front of him. Aren't you the breeder? Why are you here? The fifth lord saw who it was. That person looked sloppy. It was the breeder he had met in the Shuani area earlier. Jiuxing Shanghai. You don't remember me, but don't tell me you don't remember our child? Yun Shanghai was still holding the magical beast cub that Skywing Taiko had just thrown down from the sky. His expression was sorrowful. He looked at his wife who was so close to him, but he did not remember her at all. Ever since the chaos in Skywing City, he had been following Hu Jiuxing all the way. The scene that had just happened had obviously triggered some of Hu Jiuxing's memories. That was why she had revealed her half-beast form in a moment of agitation. Yun Shanghai knew that this was the best time for Hu Jiuxing to recover her memories. That was why he had walked out. Hu Jiuxing looked at Yun Shanghai in front of her, and her headache worsened. The same situation, the same face. She remembered that she had seen this man somewhere before. At that time he was holding, Yun Shanghai said as he walked towards Hu Jiuxing. Baby. Baby. A baby that was very important to her. Girl. Hu Jiuxing struggled to spit out a sentence. Hu Jiuxing, the Emperor Zhao is waiting for your report. Just as Hu Jiuxing was about to think of something, the fifth lord beside her suddenly took out a magic crystal. He held the magic crystal high and muttered something. The magic crystal emitted a dazzling light. Hu Jiuxing saw the crystal. Her headache suddenly froze, and the pain and hesitation in her eyes were replaced by a layer of coldness. She quickly put on her mask as if she had become a different person. She raised her magic scepter, and a summoning array rose under her feet. A huge flood dragon flew out of the summoning array. Kill him. In the blink of an eye, Hu Jiuxing underwent an astonishing change. Jiuxing. Yun Shanghai did not expect his wife to suddenly turn hostile. It was all because of the crystal. His wife's temperament suddenly changed after she saw the crystal. He still had a magical beast cub in his hands, and he could not bear to kill his wife. Therefore, in the face of the flood dragon, he could only keep dodging. Soon he was at a disadvantage. Fifth Lord, catch that king-level magical beast. Hu Jiuxing attacked Yun Shanghai as she ordered the fifth lord to catch the king-level magical beast. There was only one order in her mind. Bring back the king-level magical beast and kill the man in front of her. The fifth lord had already arrived in front of the king-level magical beast. He chanted and tried to use the magic space to take the king-level magical beast away. Were you junior? How dare you snatch my things? The fifth summoner was given a fright. An old man with fluttering white hair suddenly appeared. The old man had a sage-like appearance. His face was old and his eyes were sharp. The most shocking thing was that he had a pair of eagle-like wings on his back. Those were definitely not ordinary magic wings. Was he a human or? The 3 people present, including Hu Jiuxing, could not help but look askance at him. This white-haired old man who appeared out of thin air exuded a strong magic power. He was a powerful man on the same level as Emperor Zhao. Senior, may I ask where you belong to? We are the main summoners of the Zhao state. We are under the orders of the Emperor Zhao in red to capture this magical beast. The fifth lord had summoned a powerful man on the same level as Emperor Zhao. The fifth lord kept addressing him as senior, and his attitude was very humble. There were only a few powerful men on the same level as Emperor Zhao on the mainland. According to the fifth lord's knowledge, Most of these people were acquainted with the Emperor Zhao in red. This old man, however, was a stranger. No matter what, he had to be careful. He did not want to offend this man. If he was not careful, he would summon his own magical beast and swallow him whole. T. Since when was it your turn to capture my magical beast? The old man spat and spat on the fifth lord's face. The fifth lord could only stand awkwardly with his face covered in saliva. He did not even have the courage to wipe his face with his sleeve. What? This man said that the king-level magical beast was his. Chapter 698. This wasn't easy to handle. According to the rules of the continent, once a magical beast had a master, if it was injured or killed, it would directly become an enemy of the magical beast's master. The Zhao state had promised the Heaven's Wings Arena earlier to come forward and help deal with this magical beast incident, and they had also confirmed that this magical beast was ownerless. It was clearly an ownerless magical beast, and there was no sign of a contract on its body at all. The fifth summoner looked at the king-level magical beast, and no matter how he looked at it, he felt that it was an ownerless magical beast. However, a powerhouse on the level of Emperor Zhao wouldn't go so far as to blackmail him. Sir, what evidence do you have to say that this magical beast is yours? The ninth summoner, Hu Jiuxing, rode on the flood dragon. She could also feel the pressure of a powerhouse emanating from the old man, and he was definitely a powerhouse on the level of Emperor Zhao. However, that king-level magical beast was definitely ownerless. Humph, if this lord dares to say so, I naturally have my evidence. Even if Yun Sheng had 10 times the courage, she wouldn't dare to call him daddy in front of her mother. This white-haired the Emperor Zhao, needless to say, was Yun Sheng in disguise. When Yun Sheng learned that there was a fight in the magic array, she immediately used a transformation spell to change her appearance. However, she didn't expect that her family of 3 would meet in Yunhai ahead of time. Even more unexpected was that her mother actually wanted to kill her father. On the side, Yun Songhai also didn't know where the Emperor Zhao had come from. Just at this time, Yun Songhai discovered that the summoning emperor quickly blinked his eyes at him. He even revealed a kind smile at the corner of his mouth. What made Yun Songhai feel the most strange was that he discovered that when the Emperor Zhao smiled, there were 2 dimples at the corners of his mouth. Could it be? This white-haired Emperor Zhao was... Yun Songhai almost died of depression. This sly girl had actually deceived her own parents. However, given the current situation, he could only let deal with it. Yun Sheng walked up to the king-grade magic beast, placed her hand on its forehead and began to chant. The king-level magic beast's eyes, which had been filled with fear, were now filled with uneasiness and fear. Soon it became docile. It crawled under Yun Sheng's feet and licked her hand. A king-level magical beast would only do such a thing to its closest kin. Looking at it this way, this magical beast really did belong to this white-haired Emperor Zhao. When the fifth summoner saw this, he complained incessantly. After working so hard for so long, it turned out to be a magic beast that had already recognized its master. Honorable the Emperor Zhao, I am very sorry. This magical beast belongs to you. The Zhao state will not interfere. The fifth summoner bowed. Hu Jiuxing's beautiful eyes moved slightly as she stared at the white-haired Emperor Zhao and the king-grade magic beast. She had a nagging feeling that something was wrong. Seeing that he could not capture the king-grade magic beast, the fifth summoner did not want to stay any longer. He pulled Hu Jiuxing with him and quickly left. Yun Sheng was secretly anxious. She was anxious that her father did not stop her mother. She knew that if she missed this opportunity, it would be very difficult for her to see her mother again. After all, she had used the demon hand to scare off the sorcerers of the Zhao state. However, if Hu Jiuxing made a move, she would be exposed. Yun Songhai was about to confirm his daughter's identity. Suddenly he heard a cold laugh. Where did this impostor come from? How dare you pretend to be Emperor Zhao? You can fool the people of the Zhao state, but you can't fool me. Tianyi Dong floated in the air. It turned out that he had run into the fifth summoner and the ninth summoner on his way here. The fifth summoner could not help but complain to him about how this magical beast clearly had a master, causing the Zhao state to go through so much trouble and wasting months in Tianyi City. Tianyi Dong finally managed to appease the fifth summoner. He was also very puzzled. Tianyi Dong had personally purchased that king-grade magic beast. Magic beasts that could enter the Tianyi arena had all gone through layers of screening. If the beast had a master, he would definitely know beforehand. Besides, the Lord of Tianyi City had once said that none of the several masters at the level of Emperor Zhao matched the white-haired old man in front of him. Then, there could only be one explanation, and that was that the old man in front of him was an imposter. You go after her. I'll deal with this. Yun Sheng was afraid that she would miss the opportunity to reunite with her parents. Yun Songhai was still a little hesitant. Father-in-law, don't worry. Leave this to your son-in-law. A lazy and somewhat domineering voice was heard at the right time. Tianyi Dong looked over and saw Lord Baiming of the Zhao state standing not far away. Father-in-law? Yun Songhai looked at Yi Baiming and realized that he was the blind boy from Banana Leaf Village. However, compared to when he was in Banana Leaf Village, the young man's temperament and appearance were even better. Lord Baiming? If the Lord Baiming in front of him was such a person, then his daughter? Yun Songhai remembered that last time, he had already reminded his daughter to break off the engagement with Lord Baiming as soon as possible. Looking at the situation, the engagement had not been successfully broken off. Tianyi Dong was also very surprised. He had been secretly delighted in his heart. Lord Baiming was his guest of honor, but he immediately felt that something was wrong. Why would Lord Baiming appear here? After the chaos in Skywing City, those nobles had already hidden and fled. What was even stranger was that Lord Baiming was still looking at the white-haired old man and giving him a flirtatious look. Tianyi Dong was fond of men. A few days ago when he first saw Yi Baiming he was also shocked. However, because of the other party's identity, Tianyi Dong did not dare to hook up with him. But today it seemed that Lord Baiming was actually fond of men? A handsome young lord and an old man with white hair and wrinkled skin. A forbidden scene appeared in Tianyi Dong's mind. Could it be that Lord Baiming was also a kindred spirit? It was just that this kindred spirit's taste was a little too heavy. Tianyi Dong shuddered. Moreover, Lord Baiming had even said something about father-in-law. When he said this, the white-haired old man standing opposite Tianyi Dong actually looked as shy as a young girl. Yun Songhai was even more hesitant. He knew that his daughter Yun Sheng had extraordinary opportunities and carried several precious treasures on her. However, she was still young, and she might be deceived by Lord Baiming's flowery words. Seeing that the ninth summon and the others had already disappeared, Yun Sheng could not help but feel anxious. If she missed the clue to find her mother's memories this time, she and her father would regret it for the rest of their lives. Tianyi Dong's face turned green and purple. White-haired old man Yun Sheng wanted to vomit blood. If not for her father and Tianyi Dong being present, Yun Sheng really wanted to strangle Night Fox alive. This guy called him father-in-law so fluently. However, after she changed her appearance, she could not even recognize her own parents at a glance. How could Night Fox recognize her at a glance? Chapter 699. Actually, Yi Baiming was also very baffled. He was also brought here in a daze. Yi Baiming killed the crimson blood-summoning beasts along the way and searched the Sea of Clouds for a while. He also dealt with a few domain-level magical beasts, but he still didn't find the whereabouts of the king-level magical beast or the heavenly winged east. Just as he was about to search for traces of other magical beasts, a strange wave came from his storage belt. That wave came from the horn of the crimson blood unicorn from earlier. Yi Baiming was about to take out the horn and take a closer look to see what was going on when a wave of magical waves came from the horn and formed a magic array. Then he appeared near Yun Sheng. Even he didn't realize what had happened. Yun Songhai saw the strange behavior of Yi Baiming and Yun Sheng. As a father, he looked up and down at Yi Baiming and realized that compared to when he was in Banana Leaf Village, the youth had obviously grown a lot. After not seeing him for several years, the silent and almost autistic youth in Banana Leaf Village had grown into a tall and imposing man. Looking at Yi Baiming's back, his fighting aura had transformed into wings and flown thousands of miles. His breathing wasn't chaotic, and his cultivation and bearing were dozens of times better than before. If it weren't for the fact that this person was a member of the royal family of Zhou State, he would really be a rare match for his daughter. Yun Songhai sighed in his heart. He looked at his daughter's appearance and expression. Her disguised old face was stiff and motionless, but her eyes were anxious and gloomy. On the other hand, Lord Baiming's gray eyes saw Yun Sheng, who had changed her appearance, and recognized her with a single glance. Alas, these two people really looked like the situation when he was pursuing Yun Sheng's mother. Yun Songhai sighed with emotion. It seemed that he had to think long and hard about letting his daughter break off the engagement with Lord Baiming. He was afraid that he would have to deal with this matter as the father. With Yi Baiming's help, Yun Songhai weighed the pros and cons and handed the baby magical beast to Yun Sheng. Then, he cupped his hands towards Yi Baiming. Then I'll have to trouble your highness to take care of her. Done talking, Yun Songhai performed an earth escape, his person already disappearing. What did he mean by taking care of her? Did she need his care? As if to prove that she could completely deal with Tianidong by herself, Yun Sheng began to chant. Her summoned beasts immediately appeared. Tianidong took a look and knew that the situation was not good. A poisonous light flashed in his eyes. The cub in Yun Sheng's hand suddenly let out a strange cry and bit Yun Sheng's hand. The cub's teeth flashed with a green light. It was obvious that it was poisonous. Be careful. When Yi Baiming saw this, he did not hesitate in the slightest and grabbed the cub with his hand. When the cub bit down, Yi Baiming felt a burst of pain in the web between his thumb and forefinger. After the pain, a scalding sensation instantly attacked his whole body. The blood that flowed out of his wound instantly turned a dark green color. Yi Baiming suddenly felt dizzy. Given his constitution, he still felt this way when facing this poison. Could be seen that this poison was very powerful. Yi Baiming withdrew his long fingers, and the baby magical beast in his hand was immediately strangled to death. It turned out that this cub was a trap set up by Tianidong. As early as after the king-level magical beast escaped, Tianidong secretly ordered that this magical beast cub be fed a forbidden drug of the Hidden Night Pavilion. This forbidden drug would cause magical beasts to gradually lose their consciousness and become Tianidong's tool. Tianidong wanted to use this cub to catch him off guard. Thus, when a beast riot broke out in the Tiani arena, he deliberately left the cub there. Sure enough, the cub was stolen by the smart aleck eldest young mistress. Haha, serves you right for being unlucky. This cub was originally going to deal with Tianidong or that ghost-masked woman from the Zhao state. That poison is very powerful. If you don't die. Tianidong choked on his words. Little wild cat, you're not allowed. Yi Baiming's hand was already snatched away from Yun Sheng. She sucked the poisonous blood from Yi Baiming's wound mouthful by mouthful. Time returned to several years ago in an instant. Yi Baiming remembered that he had also been poisoned in Banana Leaf Village. At that time, his constitution was far worse than it was now. He remembered that the little wild cat had also sucked his blood without hesitation to get rid of the poison. Her soft lips lightly touched his wound. Yi Baiming's heart was as soft as water. Stupid fox, didn't I say that as long as there's no wound, sucking blood with your mouth won't get you poisoned? After Yun Sheng treated Yi Baiming's wound, she immediately took out 2 antidote pills and threw one to Yi Baiming before taking one herself. After eating, Yun Sheng realized that Yi Baiming was looking at her with a very hot gaze. Yun Sheng blushed at the sight of him acting as if he wasn't there. Where's Tianidong? Are you stupid? If he escapes to the Tiani city lord, my and big sister Yu's plan will be ruined? Yun Sheng saw that Tianidong had actually taken the opportunity to escape. It's very easy to kill him. Just wait. Yi Baiming smiled and disappeared in an instant. Yun Sheng pursed her lips and looked at her little beasts. It's time for you to show off. Tianidong had been hiding all this time and had already reached the periphery of the Cloud Sea. As long as he escaped back to his father, he would be saved. Tianidong's last hope was shattered when he saw Yi Baiming at the exit of the Cloud Sea. Second young master, you're really slow. Yi Baiming looked impatient. Yi Baiming, I respect you as Zhou State's Baiming king and don't want to fight with you. You just broke through to martial sage and are no match for this young master. Tianidong looked around and saw that the white-haired old man with many summoned beasts didn't chase after him. He was relieved. He had previously thought that the white-haired old man must be a fake, but when he saw the other party summon several magical beasts of unknown rank, Tianidong became afraid. But if his opponent was only Yi Baiming, he didn't need to worry about anything. Tianidong had broken through to martial sage 4 or 5 years ago, and he was now a mid-stage martial sage. Then this king will tell you what it means to be impossible. Yi Baiming's lips curled into a cold smile. The next moment, a layer of black helmet-like scales appeared on his body, and his gray eyes turned red. Beast blood berserk? His cultivation had also broken through from martial sage to martial emperor. This is impossible. How can you enter beast blood berserk in such a short time? Tianidong was shocked. He stared into Yi Baiming's eyes. Those red eyes seemed to have a mysterious power that made him unable to move from head to toe. In this king's life, nothing is impossible. Yi Baiming's figure flickered, and he was like a ghost as he punched at Tianidong's weak point under his abdomen. Under that punch, Tianidong had no way to escape. He only felt all the bones in his body shatter. The next moment his body was torn in half. Chapter 700. After Yi Baiming killed Tianyi Dong, a pitch-black flame rose from his right hand and burned Tianyi Dong's corpse clean. Only then did he return to the magic array with Tianyi Dong's clothes. What surprised him was that while he was fast, Yun Sheng was not slow either. In just a short while, that king-level magical beast had already disappeared without a trace. Needless to say, it must have been dealt with by Yun Sheng. At this moment, Yun Sheng was puzzled. Tianyi Dong's corpse is gone. After Yun Sheng and her little beast dealt with that king-level magical beast, they discovered that only the eldest young madam's corpse was left of the Tianyi Dong couple who had been killed earlier. Yun Sheng had also been momentarily careless. It was only when she was doing an inventory that she discovered that he was gone. Maybe he was sucked into the magic array. Tianyi Dong is dead. If Tianyi Dong is still not dead after we go out, just kill him casually. Yi Baiming also looked around but did not find any trace of Tianyi Dong. Yun Sheng rolled her eyes. She realized that she should not call Yi Baiming Night Fox. She should call him Night Demon King. Tianyi Dong was a martial sage after all. Why was it that in his eyes, killing a martial sage was like twisting a fried dough twist? Looking at the clothes that Yi Baiming had brought back from Tianyi Dong, Yun Sheng thought that it was easier for Yi Baiming to kill these two brothers than twisting a fried dough twist. Your magic is not bad, but can you look more normal? This face is a bit of an eyesore. Yi Baiming looked at Yun Sheng's old face, with some dissatisfaction. Yi Baiming had seen many disguises or illusion magic, but it was his first time encountering magic like Yun Sheng's. Under the disguise spell, even Yun Sheng's spiritual soul fluctuations could be concealed. If it weren't for Yi Baiming's secret trick, he wouldn't have been able to recognize Yun Sheng. Yun Sheng snorted. After thinking about it, she obediently withdrew her disguise magic. Then how did you recognize me? This was also what Yun Sheng was curious about. She almost thought that her magic had been seen through. You were the one who killed that light unicorn, right? Yi Baiming took out a unicorn horn as if he was performing a magic trick. Huh. Is this the horn of a crimson unicorn? So it was you who killed it? But what does that have to do with you recognizing me? Yun Sheng was also very puzzled. Previously, the light unicorn had even told her to keep this horn. Do you still remember that the light unicorn can summon a crimson unicorn? Actually, that wasn't a summoning spell, but a disguised form of magic resonance. These two unicorns should have also undergone magic dual cultivation. Yi Baiming played with the black unicorn horn in his hand. This was also something he had discovered by accident. These two unicorns were lovers. They had stayed together for a long time, and the result of their dual cultivation was that they had stimulated magic resonance. But their magic resonance was rather special, and it was reflected in the horn. As long as the bond between the person carrying the horn is strong enough, within a certain range, they can immediately teleport the other party in front of them. This is a special magic of the unicorn clan, called Heart's Bond. Yi Baiming looked at Yun Sheng with a smile. In other words, you just used the horn of a unicorn to reach me? Yun Sheng clicked her tongue. The rapport between magical beasts was really very special. No wonder the crimson unicorn would appear when the light unicorn was summoned. Previously, the light unicorn must have discovered that it was unable to summon the crimson blood, so it knew that the crimson blood was already dead. Is there really such a powerful magic? Let me try. Yun Sheng said and used Earth Meld to teleport a few hundred meters away. She then merged her magic power into the horn of the light unicorn. Just as Yi Baiming's name flashed across her mind, she appeared in front of Yi Baiming with a whoosh sound. Yun Sheng tested a few more times. Whoosh whoosh whoosh, from a few hundred meters to a few thousand meters, all without exception, she appeared in front of Yi Baiming. Yun Sheng's little beasts were also stunned by what they saw. The teleportation effect produced by the Heart's Bond was even better than Earth Meld. So magical it really worked after one try. I just don't know how far this Heart's Bond can go, Yun Sheng muttered. That depends on how deep the feelings between you and Ben Wang are. The deeper the bond, the further the distance. For example, the light unicorn and the crimson blood have been dual cultivating for so long, they should be able to teleport at least a few hundred meters. Yi Baiming saw that Yun Sheng was like a child, having so much fun playing around, and his eyes flashed with a strange light. He liked this wild kitten. Sometimes she was cunning beyond her age, but other times she was childish and very delicate. Deep feelings? Yun Sheng savored it a little more and found something wrong. The Heart's Bond of the Unicorn Clan was not something that everyone could trigger. Only a pair of dual cultivating unicorns with a strong enough bond could unleash the latent magic resonance of the unicorn's horns. It was not strange that Yi Baiming could use it, but why could she also? Could it be that she really had feelings for Yi Baiming? Who has deep feelings for you? Yun Sheng blushed. This thing is still quite useful. I'll keep it for now. If I need you, it'll be convenient for you to come at my call. Yun Sheng also could not bear to throw away this light unicorn's horn. Whether it was Yi Baiming or Yun Sheng, the two of them had a tacit understanding not to test the limits of the heart's bond on them. Because the two of them did not know how deep the feelings they had for each other were. Once the king-level magical beast was eliminated, Yun Sheng and Yi Baiming left the Sea of Clouds one after the other to avoid suspicion. Before leaving the Sea of Clouds, Yun Sheng ordered the Devil Warriors to search a large area in the Sea of Clouds. They did not find the Heavenly Wings Tower, but they made an unexpected discovery. Master, there is a damaged empty ship ahead. Looking at the sign, it seems to be the empty ship of the Hidden Night Pavilion, a Devil Warrior reported. Su De Shou of the Hidden Night Pavilion was on the ship with several of the Hidden Night Pavilion's best doctors. This empty ship was Su De Shou's last straw of hope. When the Heavenly Wing City was in chaos, a group of unknown bandits with amazing skills suddenly broke into the Hidden Night Pavilion. They killed anyone they saw and snatched any good herbs they saw. In order to escape, Su De Shou took the most valuable herbs and some doctors of the Hidden Night Pavilion and escaped on the empty ship. Who knew that when he escaped the Heavenly Wing City, he would encounter the Condor King's domain barrier. The empty ship crashed into the barrier and quickly lost its direction. Somehow it was sucked into the Sea of Clouds. At that time, there were several commander-level magical beasts running amok in the Sea of Clouds. Su De Shou's empty ship was also attacked several times. Although it was more daunting than dangerous in the end, the empty ship was also on the verge of collapse after being attacked many times. Even flying was very difficult. Just as Su De Shou was worrying, a group of flying magical beasts suddenly appeared in front of him. Chapter 701. But when the flying magical beast flew closer, Su De Guoshou took a look and was shocked. The leader of the flying magical beast turned out to be the girl that Yi Baiming entrusted him to save earlier, Yun Sheng. Su De Guoshou, I trust you have been well since we last met. Yun Sheng smiled and looked at the tattered empty ship. Greetings, Great Guoshou. Su De Guoshou saw Yun Sheng who was jumping behind, and his intestines were green with regret. After saving Yun Sheng that time, he found out afterwards that Yun Sheng was not only the Yin Emperor, who caused trouble for him in the Yellow Wings competition zone, but she also had an even more terrible identity. Yun Sheng was the continent's youngest Great Guoshou, and also the founder of the Little Ci Entong. She was the one who forced the Medicine Emperor Pavilion on the continent to almost go bankrupt. When she was in her teens, she was personally conferred the title of Great Guoshou by Emperor Tang Yuan. She was also the youngest refiner of sacred pills. Not only was she a doctor, but she was also a pharmacist. Su De Guoshou, looking at your situation, it doesn't seem to be good. Do you need my help? Yun Sheng asked knowingly. The empty ship of the Hidden Night Pavilion was broken in many places and could capsize at any time. The elite doctors and magicians on the ship were also crowded at the bow in panic. No need. In a while, Tianyi City will send people to Yunhai to search and rescue. Su De Guoshou rejected Yun Sheng's good intentions. Su De Guoshou would never believe that Yun Sheng would be so kind. This girl looked harmless, but from Wen De Guoshou's words, Su De Guoshou already knew that she was very cunning and extremely vicious. He was just a doctor. At present, the lives of the people on the ship were in his hands. He couldn't take the risk. At that time, he wouldn't even know if he was betrayed by this cunning girl. Seeing Su De Guoshou's expression as if he had seen a bandit, Yun Sheng suppressed the laughter in her heart. National Master Su, I'm afraid you'll be disappointed this time. Skywing City has suffered heavy losses. Of the two sons of the Skywing City Lord, one died in the Cloud Sea and the other's whereabouts are unknown. I'm afraid the Skywing City Lord doesn't have the spare energy to come to the Cloud Sea to search for them. Yun Sheng's words surprised Su Dagua. If the City Lord really didn't send anyone in, wouldn't they have to? He was skeptical. He didn't know whether Yun Sheng was telling the truth or not. The Cloud Sea is too big and it's hard to manage. Who knows, after this incident, the Skywing City Lord might order people to seal off the Cloud Sea. When that time comes, don't even think about getting out alive. However, I can't just stand by and watch someone die. Is there anyone on the ship who wants to go out with me? Yun Sheng glanced at the doctors and magicians on the ship, who were all pale with fright. There were many healers and magicians in the Hidden Night Pavilion, but most of them were proficient in ancient medicine or healing magic. Their cultivation base was generally not high. If they wanted to rely on their own ability to leave the Cloud Sea, it was really not easy. Moreover, magical beasts appeared from time to time near the Cloud Sea. Everyone was already frightened and didn't dare to act rashly. However, Yun Sheng appeared with 10 devil martial artists. It seemed that these martial artists were strong. Maybe they could really take them out of the Cloud Sea alive. Your Excellency, I'm willing to go out with you. I'm also willing. Seeing the defection of the healers and magicians on the ship, Su Dagwa didn't dare to say anything. He also knew that Yun Sheng was looting a burning house. But what could he do? If he angered Yun Sheng, any of the devil martial artists behind her could come up and cut off his head. I can save you, but I'm not a charity. Since I saved you, you owe me a life. From now on, you are my little Xian Tang's people. When Yun Sheng's words came out, Su Dagwa was so angry that he almost spurted out blood. Yun Sheng was making a blatant threat. How was this saving people? This was simply robbing people. Moreover, it was a robbing method that was even more banditry than bandits. After so many years of operation, the most valuable thing in the Hidden Night Pavilion was the healers and magicians on the ship, in addition to the medicinal herbs and medicinal pills on the ship. Even if the medicinal herbs and medicinal pills were gone, as long as these people were still there, the Hidden Night Pavilion would revive sooner or later. But if these people were poached, everything would be ruined. Too shameless. Too insidious. No one is allowed to follow her, otherwise the Hidden Night Pavilion will not spare you, Su Dagwa threatened. But at the moment of life and death, these healers and magicians didn't listen to his threat. One by one they climbed on the dragon behind Yun Sheng. When these people moved together, the empty ship shook more violently. Su Dagwa was so angry that he couldn't say a word. In the blink of an eye, 90% of the people on the empty ship surrendered. Su Dagwa, do you want to think about it again? Yun Sheng looked at Su Dagwa. This old man's temper was really strong. Even if this old man dies here, I won't compromise with you, Su Dagwa snorted. But just as he snorted, the 10 dragons shook their wings together. The empty ship made a dull sound. At the stern of the ship, a piece of the ship's side cracked, and the ship tilted down heavily. Su Dagwa's face turned even uglier. He hesitated and looked at a cabin in the cabin. Yun Sheng also keenly looked in the direction Su Dagwa was looking at. Su Dagwa, I know you have a strong temper. How about this? I will also relax a little. As long as you give me all the medicinal herbs and medicinal pills on this ship in exchange, I will save you in this ship. An entire ship's worth of medicinal herbs and medicinal pills? Su Dagwa was in a hurry. The medicinal herbs and medicinal pills on this ship were all the accumulated wealth of the Hidden Night Pavilion over the years. If converted into gold coins, the value of the medicinal herbs and medicinal pills on this ship was no less than hundreds of millions of gold coins. It could be said to be the same as the amount in Su Dagwa's purple gold cards. Su Dagwa's heart ached. Fortunately, this little devil still didn't know that he still had an astonishing number of purple gold cards on him. Su Dagwa had run the Hidden Night Pavilion for so many years and was very shrewd. He quickly calculated in his mind. Should he hand over the medicinal herbs or, at this moment, a voice came from the periphery of the Sea of Clouds. Everyone in the Sea of Clouds, please leave the Sea of Clouds quickly. Skywing City will close the entrance to the Sea of Clouds in half an hour. That was Skywing Jade's voice. When Su Dagwa heard this, he thought to himself, it seems that what Yun Sheng said is true. The Skywing brothers are in trouble in the Sea of Clouds. The Skywing City Lord is probably also injured. If this drags on, I will really be buried in the Sea of Clouds. From now on, Skywing City would probably become the world of this little devil and Skywing Jade. As long as there's life, there's hope. After hearing that voice, Su Dagwa's last trace of doubt disappeared. He decided that after leaving the Sea of Clouds, he would immediately reorganize the Hidden Night Pavilion and think of a way to recover the lost land. Yun Sheng and little Xiantong, let them be proud for a while. Chapter 702. Alright, all the herbs on this ship belong to you as long as you can bring me and the others on the ship out of the Sea of Clouds. Su Dagwa thought that since there was no result in the annual competition this time, the Hidden Night Pavilion could make a lot of money just by betting on the periphery. When the time came, they could use the money they earned to make up for the loss of the herbs on the ship. That's settled then. However, Great Guosho Su, I see that your empty ship is also in tatters and can't be used anymore. Why don't you give me this empty ship and the herbs? Buy one get one free. That way I won't have to carry the herbs on the ship. Yun Sheng had a matter-of-fact look on her face. Su Dagua's eyes bulged, wishing he could swallow Yun Sheng whole. A broken ship still had 3 caddies of nails, but this was an empty ship. Even if it was seriously damaged, it could be repaired and it would be a brand new empty ship. This was clearly a grab one get one free. But at this point, Great Guosho Su did not dare to bargain. He squeezed out a sentence with great difficulty. "All right, I'll give it to you." Great Guosho Su is indeed generous. Yun Sheng received a great benefit and smiled brightly. She immediately ordered the 4 devil warriors in the formation to command a bat dragon. 2 dragons dragged the bow of the ship and 2 dragons dragged the stern. They slowly pulled the empty ship of the hidden night pavilion out of the sea of clouds. As long as Yun Sheng was willing, it was very convenient for her to bring a few dozen doctors out. Great Guosho Su should be glad that he agreed. Otherwise, Yun Sheng planned to directly knock him out and drag him away with the ship. Anyway, she was already a bandit. She did not mind robbing in the open once. Yun Sheng led the devil warriors, the empty ship of the hidden night pavilion, and the people out of the sea of clouds. Winged Jade listened to Yun Sheng's orders and guarded the exit of the sea of clouds. When she saw Yun Sheng give her a look. Tianyi Jade understood in his heart that the 2 Tianyi brothers had most likely met with misfortune. "Yun Sheng, it's good that you came out. Father is seriously injured. Quickly come with me to the city lord's mansion to take a look." Tianyi called Yun Sheng. The 10 devil warriors were monitoring Su Dagua. The latter could only watch helplessly as his empty boat and the herbs on the boat were taken away by Yun Sheng's people. The heavenly winged jade temporarily sealed off the sea of clouds. Before the seal was lifted, no one was allowed to enter or leave. Naturally, no one else knew what had happened in the sea of clouds. After Yun Sheng left the sea of clouds, she learned that the white-crowned Eagle King had fought with the Skywing City Lord. The white-crowned Eagle King had lost one of its wings and fled. Although the Skywing City Lord had won, he had also sustained heavy injuries. The moment Yun Sheng arrived at the Skywing City Lord Manor, she discovered that the City Lord Manor was also in a mess. Empyrean Winged Venerable's condition was not good. Fortunately, with Yun Sheng's help, his condition quickly stabilized. The people that the Heavenly Winged Jade had sent to find the Skywing brothers had also returned. The second young master and Kong Fei's corpses have been found. Looking at the situation, they were both killed by magical beasts. The eldest young madam's corpse has also been found, but the eldest young master was not found. After obtaining the death of one of his 2 sons and the disappearance of the other, Empyrean Winged Venerable aged considerably overnight. Heavenly Winged Jade and Steward Chu persuaded him with kind words. After drinking some medicine, Empyrean Winged Venerable fell asleep. "All of this is like a dream. Are you sure that the eldest young master is already dead?" Heavenly Winged Jade found Yun Sheng. Without finding Empyrean Winged Tuo's corpse, Heavenly Winged Jade was still somewhat apprehensive. He should already be dead. With the situation in the Sea of Clouds at that time, unless there was an expert who saved him, he was bound to die. "Elder sister you can rest assured." Yun Sheng had already ordered people to search the Sea of Clouds but did not find Empyrean Winged Tuo. With the death of the Skywing brothers, her final apprehension disappeared. From today onwards, she would be the legitimate successor of Skywing City. When Yun Sheng and Heavenly Winged Jade were searching for Empyrean Winged Tuo, he was indeed already dead. It was just that he did not die at the hands of Hu Jiuxing like what Yun Sheng saw earlier. Instead, he died at the hands of someone that no one expected. That day, Empyrean Winged Tuo was entangled by Hu Jiuxing's hair and nearly suffocated to death. Fortunately, at that time Yun Sheng and Yi Baiming suddenly appeared. Hu Jiuxing let down her guard, and Empyrean Winged Tuo was abandoned to the side. Just as Yun Sheng and Hu Jiuxing were talking, Empyrean Winged Tuo was quietly rescued by a mysterious masked person. That mysterious person took Empyrean Winged Tuo and fled the Sea of Clouds. Empyrean Winged Tuo was already severely injured at that time and was on the verge of death. He also did not clearly see who that person was. After they reached a safe place, someone grabbed his chin and stuffed a medicinal pill into his mouth. Once the medicinal pill entered his mouth, Empyrean Winged Tuo came to life. His consciousness was somewhat clear and he coughed up a mouthful of blood. "Many thanks for saving me. Send me to the Empyrean Winged City Lord's residence. I will definitely reward you handsomely." When Empyrean Winged Tuo was in a daze, he felt that someone had rescued him. That woman in the Zao state was really too scary. He really thought that he was going to die there. But it was also good. Empyrean Winged Tuo was dead. And that tigress of his family was also dead. He, Empyrean Wing Tuo, finally did not have to be bullied by the tigress and his cut-sleeve younger brother. When he thought of this, Empyrean Wing Tuo had the misconception that even the heavens were helping him. Empyrean Wing Tuo had the urge to laugh wildly. As long as he returned to the Empyrean Wing City Lord's residence, he would be the only successor to the City Lord. Where is Shi Tu? The cold voice behind him made Empyrean Wing Tuo come back to his senses. He resisted the pain in his chest and turned his head to look. What he saw was a charming face. Qinlian, or it was actually her. Empyrean Wing Tuo's impression of Qinlian was still very deep. After that incident where they were caught red-handed, Qinlian seemed to have disappeared. Empyrean Wing Tuo had also seen Qinlian when he was on the empty ship entering the Cloud Sea. Unfortunately, his tigress was by his side at that time, so Empyrean Wing Tuo did not dare to harass Qinlian. Today she actually appeared at this time and suddenly appeared here. That's right, when the empty ship capsized, Qinlian must have also gotten off the ship and secretly followed him. After all, he was her first man. She must have developed feelings for him, which was why she took such a big risk to save him. Seeing Qinlian, Empyrean Wing Tuo remembered that day, the wonderful taste of Qinlian under his body. At that time Qinlian was still a virgin. Empyrean Wing Tuo's lust did not change. Now that the tigress was dead, he was even more unbridled and fearless. Lian, it's actually you. You really can't bear for me to die. I am your first man. Empyrean Wing Tuo was about to stand up, wanting to go up and hug Qinlian. Qinlian took a step back, her charming face covered in a layer of frost. Just seeing Empyrean Wing Tuo made her feel disgusted. Lian, what are you hiding for? That tigress has already died in the mouth of a beast. My second brother is also dead. As long as you marry me, you will be the future wife of the City Lord of Empyrean Wing City. Empyrean Wing Tuo shamelessly went up, wanting to kiss her. I ask you, where is the stone? Qinlian's gaze was cold. Before you send me back to the City Lord's residence, I will, slut. You dare to hurt me. Empyrean Wing Tuo's face was deathly pale. On his chest there was a wound so deep that bone could be seen. Chapter 703. Looking at Skywing Expansion, Qinlian's body was surrounded by a murderous wind element. A gust of wind sickles that seemed to have come from hell cut open Skywing Expansion's chest. Skywing Expansion was already seriously injured. In this situation he was like a puppet waiting to be slaughtered. Hand it over, or else you'll always taste my wind sickles. Qinlian no longer had the appearance of a delicate beauty. Ever since that day when Skywing Expansion took her virginity, Qinlian's heart had been completely twisted. She hated two people. One was Yun Sheng, and the other was the dog-like Skywing Expansion in front of her. Her hatred for Yun Sheng was that she was loved and doted on. She hated Yun Sheng for taking everything away from her. Her hatred for Skywing Expansion was that he ruined her reputation. After Qinlian's virginity was ruined, she still had a bit of hope. She hoped that Skywing Expansion would marry her on account of him being her first man. But there was no news of Skywing Tower at all. Lianer, don't be like this. I love you as long as you, a bloody gash appeared on Skywing Expansion's throat. He could no longer speak. You're not worthy to talk about love. You ruined me. Hand over the stone, or else I'll make more gashes on your body. A seductive smile appeared on Qinlian's face. Skywing Expansion's throat was cut, and he could no longer speak. He was deeply afraid that Qinlian would really kill him. Qinlian removed a belt from his body. When Skywing Taiko was trying to curry favor with her, he had told her that all of his valuables were kept in his storage belt. She forced Skywing Expansion to take out the stone from his storage belt. Qinlian looked carefully and confirmed that this stone was the one she had her eyes on. Skywing Expansion desperately gestured, begging Qinlian to save him. Since you gave me this stone, I'll let you die slowly. Qinlian chuckled. She raised her magic scepter, and wind sickles cut through Skywing Expansion's body. Streaks of flesh and blood, streaks of bleak white bones. The blood was like a drizzle, splashing down. Qinlian seemed to have lost her humanity as she watched from the side with narrowed eyes. She wanted Heavenly Wing Tower to die a miserable death. After a full half an hour, the area below Skywing Tower's head had already become a skeleton. One could faintly see the pulsating organs inside. That scene made people feel nauseous. But Qinlian was watching with great interest, as if she was admiring her proudest work. If it were an ordinary person, they would have long since gone crazy and died. However, Heavenly Wing Tower was a martial saint. His life force was so tenacious that it caused one to raise their eyebrows. Your life force is really tenacious. I'll send you on your way. Qin Lianer raised her magic scepter. Pa. It was the sound of a heart bursting. The magic scepter was forcefully thrust down, and the sharp bottom of the scepter shattered the sternum of Skywing Taiko. Skywing Tower's eyes were glaring angrily. He had long since lost the ability to make a sound. He had never imagined that he would one day die in the hands of a woman. Skywing Tower was already dead. Qin Lianer wiped the scepter clean and threw out a magic fireball, burning his corpse clean. After Qin Lianer killed him, she quietly sneaked back to the empty ship. Due to the magical beast riot in the Xuani district, most of the people from the magic elite camp went to the Skywing arena. No one discovered Qin Lianer's assassination this time. Everyone thought that Skywing Tower had died in battle at the beast's mouths. After Qin Lianer killed Skywing Tower, she pretended to be injured and left Yunhai. After a few days, order was restored in Skywing City. The domain boundary outside the city was also broken. The people and merchants in the city also started to rebuild. The Hidden Night Pavilion suffered extremely heavy losses in the turmoil this time. Although Su de Guosho had kept his life, when he returned to the city, he received the bad news that the Hidden Night Pavilion had been burned to ruins and that the 4 night emissaries had died in the fire. Not only that, when Su de Guosho hurried back to the Hidden Night Pavilion, he found that the Hidden Night Pavilion had been ransacked inside and out. Not a single herb was left for him in the pharmacy. He knew in his heart that this matter was inseparable from Yun Sheng. But this time he could only suffer in silence and swallow his own bitterness. He swallowed his anger, reorganized the Hidden Night Pavilion, and sorted out the accounts and the number of casualties. But at this time, his subordinates came to tell him that Yun Sheng had come to find him. At this time, the person Su de Guosho did not want to see the most was Yun Sheng. Why is it you again? I don't remember having anything to do with you. Su de Guosho's face was full of resentment. Su de Guosho, I am here to collect a debt. Compared to Su de Guosho's bitter face, Yun Sheng was now full of smiles. What debt? You have taken away all the people, herbs and empty boats. The Hidden Night Pavilion does not owe you anything anymore. Su de Guosho really wanted to strangle Yun Sheng to death. Su de Guosho, you are wrong. The old debt has been cleared, but our new debt has not been cleared. I am here to collect my bet money. Yun Sheng smiled and took out a stack of paper. It was all the bets from the peripheral bets since the annual competition. Among them, the biggest one was related to the finals of the annual competition. Especially the bets from the peripheral bets of the unicorn. In the end, it was as high as 1 to 100. According to the bets from the peripheral bets that Yun Sheng brought, on the last 2 days of the competition, which was the afternoon before the turmoil in Skywing City, Yun Sheng bet as high as 7 million gold coins on Flame Emperor. According to the odds of 1 to 1, if Flame Emperor defeated the unicorn in the end and became the champion of the annual competition, then the peripheral bets operated by the Hidden Night Pavilion would have to pay Yun Sheng a huge sum of 700 million gold coins. After seeing the receipt of the bet money, Su de Guosho sneered. 700 million gold coins was really a shocking number, but unfortunately, nonsense. The annual competition of Skywing's arena was not held as scheduled. Where did the bet come from? Su de Guosho tore the receipt into pieces. This girl was really crazy about money. She actually tried to extort money from him. The annual competition was not held as scheduled, but that does not mean that it was not completed. Don't forget that the City Lord of Skywing City issued a City Lord order earlier. During the turmoil in Skywing City, all the demonic beasts killed could be counted in the arena's battle record. Just this morning, Flame Emperor and his companion personally went to the City Lord's mansion and handed over the Radiant Unicorn's Soul Stone. In other words, the champion of this year's annual competition is Flame Emperor. Yun Sheng's words were like a bolt from the blue, instantly making Su de Guosho look tender on the outside. You can go to the City Lord's mansion and ask. In addition, the receipt you tore just now was only a handwritten copy. I have already handed the original to the people in the arena. 700 million gold coins. I can accept cash or a gold card. Yun Sheng looked at Su de Guosho's face as the blood drained from it. Chapter 704. 700 million gold coins, what kind of concept was that? In layman's terms, if the Hidden Night Pavilion did not experience this loss. If all the properties, medicinal herbs, pills and cash of the Hidden Night Pavilion were put together, it would only be worth 1 billion gold coins. However, Yun Xing ordered the people of the Heaven Hunting Corps to burn down the Hidden Night Pavilion and plunder everything inside and outside. Not only that, she also took advantage of the situation and plundered a group of people. She also robbed the most precious medicinal herbs and pills that Su de Guoshou carried on the empty ship. Now, Su de Guoshou only had a few gold cards worth 500 million gold coins on him. Even if he gave all the gold cards to Yun Xing, the Hidden Night Pavilion still owed Yun Xing 200 million gold coins. Su de Guoshou was dispirited. This time, the Hidden Night Pavilion had completely collapsed. He simply could not pay off the huge debt of 200 million gold coins. Su de Guoshou, I cherish talents very much. I know your medical skills. If you can be of use to my little Xiantong, I can guarantee your position in life. All the affairs of Skywing City will still be under your control. Yun Xing threw out an olive branch. After annexing the Hidden Night Pavilion, the current scale of the Little Xiantong was comparable to the Medicine Emperor Pavilion in the past. However, Yun Xing's medical talents were limited. Imperial Physician Yao and Dr. Fan were already as busy as spinning tops. It was impossible for Yun Xing to stay in Skywing City for a long time. After this beast riot, she must complete the trial and return to the continent's magic elite camp. Yun Xing urgently needed talents to help her manage the affairs of Skywing City and assist the Skywing's Jade. Although Su de Guoshou was only a doctor, he still had high standards. This old man is a person of the Medicine Emperor Pavilion and will never betray it. Su de Guoshou was very unconvinced by Yun Xing. This cunning little girl, in a critical moment, used the lives of the people on the ship to threaten him and forced him to hand over 200 million gold coins. That was not all. She even made use of the peripheral betting system to make the Hidden Night Pavilion lose 500 million gold coins. He, Suda, would never yield to such a cunning person. Great Master Su, as the saying goes, a fine bird chooses a tree to nest in. If I spread the news of you saving my life to the Medicine Sovereign Pavilion, do you think the people there would spare you? Yun Xing laughed. She had plenty of methods to deal with such a pedantic old man. You. How despicable. You actually dare to threaten this old man. This old man is already so old. I don't care about this broken life anymore. Hearing this, Su de Guoshou flew into a rage out of humiliation. He pointed at Yun Xing and cursed. You can give up your life, but what about your grandson? Yun Xing smiled. On Su de Guoshou's empty ship, Yun Xing found a child whose lower body was paralyzed. That person was Su de Guoshou's grandson. Su de Guoshou had been practicing medicine all his life, but he was unable to treat his only grandson's illness. Looking at the entire Medicine Sovereign Pavilion, even the Dharma Temple, they were unable to treat his grandson's illness. This matter had always been a sore point in his heart. Yun Xing, you used my grandson to threaten me. You're not qualified to be a doctor. Su de Guoshou was furious. Great Master Su, there's no need to be angry. I just want to tell you that I can treat your grandson's leg. Yun Xing was not angry. Impossible, even that, Lord. Su de Guoshou did not continue speaking. Even if he was now Yun Xing's prisoner, he could not reveal the biggest secret of the Medicine Sovereign Pavilion. Otherwise, he and his grandson would really lose their lives. A few years ago, before Yun Xing's soul-healing divine needle reached the 4th level, she was already able to use Saint-grade pills to regenerate Yun Songhai's hand. Now, her acupuncture technique had already reached the 4th level. Even if she did not use acupuncture, she could still treat Su de Guoshou's grandson's leg. However, in order to make Su de Guoshou even more grateful, she used an extra sage ginseng pill. Sometimes, serious illnesses needed strong medicine. You should know that I'm from the Marshal Saint General's residence of Zhou State. My second uncle Yun Songlong's hand was healed by me. As for your grandson, it was just a side effect of polio because he was not taken good care of when he was young. With a sage ginseng pill and my unique acupuncture technique, he can naturally be cured. After Yun Xing finished speaking, she clapped her hands. They saw the Oriole helping a boy out. The boy's legs were still a little inconvenient to walk. However, he was indeed able to stand up and walk. As long as he practiced for a few more days, at least there would be no problems with his daily life. Really? This is true. Su de Guoshou's psychological defense completely collapsed. Yun Xing's coercion made Su de Guoshou understand that he had no reason to refuse. Even if he did not agree after returning to the Medicine Emperor Pavilion, he would suffer a punishment worse than death. It would be better for him to stay in Skywing City. With Yun Xing's protection and the help of Skywing's Jade, Su de Guoshou could still manage his favorite medical career and be together with his grandson. Thank you, Yun Xing. From now on, this old man is a member of Little Xiantong. Su de Guisho sincerely submitted. Yun Xing nodded her head in satisfaction. From now on, the Hidden Night Pavilion was officially renamed to Little Ci Entong. Skywing's Branch Medicine Emperor Pavilion. The Medicine Emperor Pavilion's biggest profit channel in the continent was uprooted. Yun Xing returned to the inn with the few gold cards that she got from Su de Guisho. Heavens, so much money! Dong Huang Linger was almost dazzled by the gold cards in front of her. Each limitless gold card has several tens of millions of purple gold coins. Counting the 5 gold cards here, there is a total of 500 million purple gold coins. This is only a part of it. Hidden Night Pavilion still owes us 200 million purple gold coins. But now we should change the name to Skywing's Branch Hall. Yun Xing chuckled. Yun Xing was not a fool. Since Su de Guisho had already pledged allegiance to her, she would still ask for the remaining 200 million purple gold coins from the Medicine Emperor Pavilion. Yun Xing, I still haven't asked you. How did you do it? With so many gold coins, it is enough for our imperial family's expenses for several decades. Dong Huang Linger was puzzled. Yun Xing's miraculous aspect was not only this. On that day, after returning from the Sea of Clouds, Yun Xing took out the Radiant Unicorn's Soul Stone and said that she encountered the seriously injured Radiant Unicorn and Lionheart in the Sea of Clouds. She took advantage of the chaos and killed Lionheart and Lionheart. At that time, the Radiant Unicorn was already dead. Thus she took out the Soul Stone. This matter sounded very mysterious, but Dong Huang Linger was unable to figure out what was wrong. I made a small bet. All right, there is also a gold card with 500 gold coins. When I placed the bet, I also placed the 50,000 plus gold coins that Qin Yangan entrusted me with. I plan to send this money to later Qin and give it to his family when I have the chance. This was all that Yun Xing could do. I'll leave it to you. All right. When you weren't here, big sister, you asked someone to send something over. Dong Huang Linger mysteriously took out a very luxurious framed box. Chapter 705. Inside the box there were 2 belts. The belts were made of soft golden silk and inlaid with 2 valuable agate stones in the middle. In the middle of the stones, the names Flame and Emperor were engraved. It was the Grappling King's belt that symbolized the title of the strongest competitor in Skywing City. The Grappling King's belt? Yun Xing was shocked. Big sister, you said that this is what we deserve. Originally, it was to be awarded in the arena, but Skywing City is still like this, so big sister, you could only send it directly to us. Dong Huang Linger's face was full of joy. Yun Xing only found out from Skywing Jade a few days after leaving the Sea of Clouds that most of the people who entered the Sea of Clouds did not make it out of the Sea of Clouds. Many hunters, including Lionheart, had died in the Sea of Clouds, and their corpses had been found one after another. But there was a very rare thing that Skywing Jade still felt was inconceivable. Of the few commander-grade magical beasts that escaped, other than the light unicorn that Yun Xing killed, the others were still missing. Even their corpses were not found. He didn't know if those commander-level magical beasts had been killed by someone, or if there were other exits in the Sea of Clouds and they had escaped. If they had escaped, those magical beasts would have become a hidden danger no matter where they escaped to in the boundless continent. But it was also because of this unexpected result that Flame Emperor became the only survivor among the contestants and magical beasts of the annual competition. In addition, Flame handed over a soul stone of the light unicorn after the event. Flame Emperor became the overall champion of the annual competition. Combined with the results that Flame Emperor had accumulated in the 2-person and 1-person competitions, in the end, the 2 successfully obtained the title of Grappling King. Skywing Jade had already announced this matter to the entire Skywing arena. Many people congratulated Flame Emperor for obtaining the title of new Grappling King, but after the event, they realized that they could not find any trace of Flame Emperor at all. As for Flame Emperor, after the Beast Riot in Skywing City, he had completely faded out of the arena and became a legend that would be passed down forever in the Skywing arena. After the Beast Rampage in Skywing City, the training of the elite camp in Skywing City also came to an end. Elder Hellion treated the wounds of a few academy members who were slightly injured. Yun Xing was surprised to find that Qin Lianer had also successfully escaped from the Sea of Clouds. She asked around and learned that she had returned to the empty ship a long time ago. This time, Qin Lianer's reputation had indeed been ruined. Not only had she lost her innocence, she had also failed on the verge of success in her personal trial. Originally, in the Earthwings competition zone, Due to Feng Tian's unexpected defeat and Yi Baiming's refusal to participate in the competition, Chen Lianer should have been one of the most promising candidates to become the fighting king in the Earthwings competition zone. However, due to the humiliation incident, Elder Hellion ordered Chen Lianer to reflect on her mistakes on the empty boat and stopped all competitions. Yun Sheng originally thought that with Chen Lianer's personality, she would definitely not let the matter rest. However, what was inconceivable was that Chen Lianer really did stay on the empty ship every day, looking like she was reflecting on her mistakes. However, no matter what, Yun Sheng was still wary of Chen Lianer. She still remembered that day when Chen Lianer had used an extremely venomous gaze to stare at her. One must always be on guard against others. There was another matter that made Yun Sheng very depressed. Even the corpse of Skywing Tower could not be found. Even the labyrinth stone's whereabouts were unknown. Yun Sheng could only prepare the king-level magical beast Soul Stone as a temporary backup. After the Hidden Night Pavilion was officially recruited by Yun Sheng, the members of the Sky Hunting Corps also left Skywing City under the lead of second uncle Yun Songlong. Yun Songlong also passed a letter to Yun Sheng. It was left behind by her father Yun Songhai before he left Skywing City. In the letter, her father said that he suspected that Hu Jiuxing's memory loss was related to the current red-cloaked pope. As the matter was related to the magic crystal, Yun Songhai might go to the Dharma temple to look for related clues. Yun Sheng left 5 demon martial artists in the city to help with the construction of the Skywing's library branch. Half a month later, Skywing Jade officially succeeded the position of Skywing City Lord, and they were even invited to watch Skywing Jade's inauguration ceremony. This time, the inauguration ceremony was not held with great fanfare because of the 2 young masters' funerals. Skywing Jade also asked for Skywing Venerable's opinion before inviting Yun Sheng and Donghuang Ling to come. In the City Lord's residence, Skywing Jade was wearing the City Lord's battle helmet and had prepared a family banquet to entertain Yun Sheng and Donghuang Ling. The City Lord is still unwell. Mother is accompanying him, so I can't entertain you together. Skywing Jade was regretful. Sister Yu, there's no need to be so polite. It was unknown whether it was because Skywing Jade had inherited the position of City Lord or because she was wearing the battle helmet, but the current Skywing Jade had a majestic aura. She was the new City Lord of Skywing City. But even so, Yun Sheng still had a natural expression and called Skywing Jade, Sister Yu. Actually, I came here today specially to thank you. Skywing Jade looked at Yun Sheng and sighed in her heart. Even Donghuang Ling was kept in the dark. Only Yun Sheng and Chu Yu knew that the death of the Skywing brothers was not a coincidence. In a few days you will be leaving, right? Yun Sheng, my mother asked me to give you a parting gift. Skywing Jade took out a box and handed it to Yun Sheng. Yun Sheng opened it and saw a familiar stone. This was the soul stone she had obtained in the treasure boat last time. When she saw this labyrinth stone, Yun Sheng was very surprised. Didn't second young master already give it to Chen Lianer? Yun Sheng was very surprised. The one that was given away was a fake. This one is the real one. Skywing Jade smiled. Don't be surprised. My mother secretly hid this. In a while, she will be traveling around the continent with the City Lord. She might not be able to see you off in time, so she asked me to give it to you first. The treasure boat has a habit. Every time it receives a treasure, it will make a copy. Skywing Jade then told Yun Sheng the whole story. The treasures on the treasure boat were mostly made in 2 copies, one real and one fake. The fake copy was used to guard against thieves or for display purposes. This rule was set by Steward Chu back then. Therefore, even if it was just one stone, Steward Chu still followed the rules and made 2 copies. However, even Skywing Jade did not know about this secret. Only Steward Chu and the City Lord of Skywing City knew about it. Steward Chu and Yun Sheng had promised that if Flame Emperor could help Skywing Jade gain a foothold in the Yellow Wings competition zone, she would keep this stone of unknown origin and sell it to Yun Sheng. Yun Sheng did it. Furthermore, it was much more than what Steward Chu had asked for earlier. The Skywing brothers were dead and Skywing City belonged to Skywing Jade. No one could harm the mother and daughter anymore. It was also because the result had greatly exceeded Steward Chu's expectations. Therefore, after some consideration, she decided to give this stone to Yun Sheng for free. Chapter 706. Chen Lianer thought she was smart and used a honey trap to trick Skywing Tower, but Steward Chu was already prepared. She ordered someone to secretly switch the soul stone. Skywing Tower did not give the stone that day. As for the whereabouts of the stone, it disappeared with Skywing Tower's death. Yun Sheng had long given up hope of finding the stone, but she did not expect to suddenly obtain it again. Yun Sheng put away the stone, her heart filled with joy. "Big sister Yu, this time you really gave me a parting gift." Yun Sheng was very grateful. Yun Sheng did not stand on ceremony. This stone was too important to her. That day young Master Skywing Tower fell for a honey trap and wanted to use the stone to hook up with Chen Lianer. Steward Chu had long seen that Chen Lianer was not a good person, so he agreed on the surface, but secretly let his trusted aide change the stone while it was being packaged. Therefore Chen Lianer spent a lot of effort and even lost her virginity in exchange for the stone. In fact, it was just a very ordinary broken stone. Yun Sheng thought about how angry she would be when she found out about this. Yun Sheng stroked this hard-earned stone. Her fate with this stone was really subtle. "Thank you, big sister Yu. I will always remember the friendship between you and your mother. If there is a chance in the future, Linger and I will definitely come back to train again." Yun Sheng and Skywing Jade appreciated each other. In the past year, the two of them had already established a deep relationship. "You are very welcome. You are welcome to Skywing City to train at any time. But next time, you must appear in the Skywings or Earthwings competition zone." Skywing Jade also liked these two little sisters very much. "Big sister Yu, you are not fair. Why is it only Yun Sheng who has a gift? What about me?" Dong Huang Linger pretended to be angry and acted coquettishly. "Haha, you little girl, what do you want? Tomorrow you and Yun Sheng can go to the treasure boat and pick." Heaven's Wings Jade was now in charge of both the Heaven's Wings Arena and the treasure boat, 2 treasure basins. A single treasure was nothing to her. Both Chu Yu and Dong Huang Linger felt warmth in their hearts. The Heaven's Wing Jade truly treated them as sisters. "Why don't the three of us become sworn sisters?" Dong Huang Linger suggested. She had an elder brother but no sisters. It was rare for her to meet two sisters who got along so well. The other two readily agreed. The three of them immediately used tea in place of wine in the inn and swore an oath to the moon, forming a golden orchid. Among the three of them, Chu Yu was the oldest and became the eldest sister. Dong Huang Linger was the second oldest and could be considered as the second sister. Yun Sheng was the youngest and could be considered as the third sister. 3 women with completely different temperaments and appearances, yet equally outstanding, clasped their hands together. The 3 of them inadvertently became sworn brothers, and in the future, it would become a much-told story in the continent. There were many men in the world who became brothers of the opposite sex, but there were not many women. Not to mention that there were 3 women in different fields who were equally outstanding in appearance and strength. It was rumored in the later generations of the continent that during the most turbulent period of the boundless continent, there were countless male experts who rose to power. However, there were 3 women who, even in that era where magical beasts and powerhouses were plentiful, were still eye-catching. The 3 women were also known as the 3 emperors. In the sky was the female city lord Tianyu. On the ground was the successor of the Donghuang dynasty, Dong Huang Linger. As for the emperor of healers, Yun Sheng, she was the most accomplished and the most mysterious of the 3. However, the friendship between the 3 women was still a legend in the continent even after the 3 of them had passed away. After parting that night, a few days later, the continent's elite camp's empty ship set off for the return voyage. Tianyu personally came to the city gate to send off Yun Sheng and Dong Huang Linger. "Sisters, if you have the time in the future, you must come and visit your elder sister. Originally, I should have sent the 2 of you off. Unfortunately, I am truly unable to leave Skywing City." Tianyu was also very reluctant to part with the 2 of them. If it were not for this matter, Heavenly Winged Jade would have thought of finding an opportunity to travel around the continent. However, it seemed that there was no chance now. The Skywing Arena had gone through the previous catastrophe, and there were countless deaths and injuries. More than half of the Skywing Arena had been destroyed. It could be said that the Yellow Wings and Black Wings divisions had been completely destroyed. The magical beasts in the Black Wings division had also been killed or injured in the magical beast frenzy this time. This had caused the Skywing Arena to lose more than half of its income, and it still needed to replenish magical beasts. Although the Skywing City Lord already belonged to Tianyu, the mess left to Tianyu now was even bigger. Because the Skywing City Lord was saddened by the death of his 2 sons, he had already left Skywing City 2 days ago under Steward Chu's persuasion to travel the continent. All matters were handed over to Tianyu, so she was under a lot of pressure. Seeing the devastated Skywing City, the 3 were speechless for a while. Yun Sheng had a thought. "Sister Yu, I have something to discuss with you." I can provide a portion of the reconstruction funds for Skywing City, and I can introduce you to Brother Zhou of the Everlasting Chamber of Commerce. Tianyu had given Yunxing the Enigma Stone. Besides being grateful, Yunxing also wanted to do something for Tianyu. With the bet from the Hidden Night Pavilion, Yunxing's personal wealth had expanded to an unprecedented level. Money, she had plenty of it. As Yunxing spoke, she took out 2 everlasting gold cards. In each card there were 100 million gold coins. This could be considered as a parting gift from Yunxing to Tianyu. Skywing City had suffered heavy losses. If they wanted to recover, they would need a large sum of money. Tianyu was currently having a headache over this matter. She couldn't be more pleased with Yunxing's proposal. However, did Yunxing have the money? Tianyu wasn't looking down on Yunxing, but she remembered that Yunxing was just a student of the continent's magic elite camp. Her medical and magic skills were pretty good, but during her time in Skywing City, the bonuses she received were very limited. At most, she had earned a few 100,000 gold coins. Big sis, don't be deceived by her. Our family's third sister is a typical nouveau riche. She looks unremarkable, but her family background is very thick. Little Ci Entong is opened by her, and she is also the vice leader of the Heaven Expedition Hunting Corps. Furthermore, she had previously earned a windfall from gambling. Dong Huanglinger interjected. When she had first found out about Yunxing's identity, she had also been scared to death. She really didn't know that the unremarkable little girl she had met back then had now become an existence in the continent. With a stomp of her foot, the medical and magic world would tremble. After the Hidden Night Pavilion was destroyed, the Medicine Emperor Pavilion suffered the most serious blow since its establishment. Those contestants who were originally under the control of the Hidden Night Pavilion had also become a mob and pledged allegiance to the Skywing's branch hall. The Medicine Emperor Pavilion had cut off Skywing City's largest financial supply, and it was believed that it would soon decline. Little Ci Entong would soon grow into the continent's #1 medicinal pill and potion pharmacy. You are actually the boss behind Little Ci Entong? Even though Tianyu knew that Yunxing was very powerful, she didn't expect that at such a young age she would actually have 2 important identities. If she didn't remember wrongly, how old was Yunxing this year? Not yet 15 years old. Chapter 707. Yunxing was able to achieve such a result at her age. It was simply too unreal. Tianyu couldn't help but have the urge to wipe her sweat. I don't need anything in return. I just need Big Sister to promise me that Little Ci Entong will handle the sales of elixirs and potions in Skywing City. Rest assured, I won't ask for sky-high prices. I guarantee that Little Ci Entong's prices will be unified across the entire continent. Yunxing patted her chest and guaranteed. Unified prices across the entire continent? Perhaps only Yunxing would be able to say such words. There were so many medical centers in the continent. Even the Medicine Emperor Pavilion had different prices in different regions and countries. But Yunxing dared to say it. When Hidden Night Pavilion fell, Yunxing took the opportunity to subdue a large number of medical centers and doctors that were originally attached to Hidden Night Pavilion. Most of these people had rich experience in alchemy. Yunxing only needed to have Lin Yao or make a trip here to train them. As for the transportation cost, Yunxing planned to recommend Zhou Qingchuan to enter Skywing City. Manager Chu has already left with the city lord. If Big Sister believes me, you can let Everlasting Chamber of Commerce take care of the treasure boat. This way, not only will you be able to focus on managing the city's affairs, but you will also be able to obtain a considerable amount of investment. When Yunxing said this, the intelligent Heavenly Wing Jade had already sketched out a brand new blueprint for rebuilding Heavenly Wing City. In fact, Yunxing had another idea. She also wanted to make Zhou Qingchuan and Tianyu work together. The two of them were top-notch existences in different fields of the continent. The man was handsome, the woman was beautiful, and their age was similar. It was a beautiful thing for the two pharmacists to become a couple. However, Yunxing knew that the fate between men and women couldn't be forced. Everything would depend on Big Sister Yu and Big Brother Zhou's fate. Hey, don't forget about me. I can also invest. I don't have much money, but I have 1 million in the eastern capital. Dong Huangling was unhappy when she saw the two talking passionately. Oh, I didn't expect our second sister to be a rich woman. Tianyu and Yunxing both laughed. The structure of Skywing City changed from then on. From the initial Heavenly Wing City Lord's family to the Little Ci Entong and the Everlasting Chamber of Commerce, the reconstruction of Heavenly Wing City became much smoother. In just a short exchange of words, Heavenly Winged Jade resolved the words that had troubled her for many days. She felt much more at ease. Yun Sheng, it's time to depart. Elder Hulian's reminder from the empty ship interrupted the conversation between the three of them. It was getting late. It was time for them to part. Most of the dozen or so mages who had come to train were still in Class A. Other than Chen Lianer, who was hiding in the cabin, everyone had changed compared to a year ago. The male magicians had tanned a lot, and their bodies had also become more muscular. The female magicians also changed their arrogant and extravagant temperament. Moreover, each of them had a different look in their eyes. Outsiders could tell at a glance that these mages had experienced life and death situations. Among them, 3 had broken through to become sky magicians. They were Feng Tian, Gu Feng, and Abandon. Dong Huang Ling'er's strength had increased greatly. However, she still hadn't broken through. As for Yun Sheng, she could vaguely feel that her own progress had improved. From Elder Hulian's point of view, these results were a huge improvement. The training in the Heaven's Wings arena for a year had finally ended perfectly. The danger involved was something that Elder Hulian had never thought of before setting off. However, it was also thanks to the Beast Tide crisis that the Magic Elite Camp had ushered in unprecedented progress. Although there was no Combat King, Feng Tian's results were still the best. Thinking of this, Elder Hulian's chest unconsciously puffed out. When Yun Sheng and Dong Huang Ling bade farewell, a small empty ship was not far away, preparing to take off. The size of that empty ship was slightly smaller than Elder Hulian's. It looked simple and crude from the outside, but the interior was very luxurious. At this time, a man who looked like a guard captain was patrolling the deck and happened to see the 3 girls not far away. At first, the guard captain was attracted by the appearance of the 3 girls. However, when he saw Dong Huang Ling'er's appearance clearly, his expression changed. Wasn't that the princess? The guard captain hurriedly went into the cabin. Soon, a fat man with a belly bigger than his chest came out from the cabin. The man was dressed in plain clothes, but he was covered in gold and silver. Behind him was a beautiful woman. It was the left minister of the East Capital, whom Tianyi Dong had personally received last time. After Tianyi Dong's death, Tianyi Yu had also received the left minister of the East Capital symbolically. How could she have known that this person was also reckless? He saw that Tianyi Yu was beautiful and wanted to take advantage of her, but he was severely humiliated by Tianyi Yu. The Heavenly Winged Jade was still not satisfied, and directly seized his empty ship. The left minister of the East Capital was angry, but he was still a powerful dragon that could not suppress a snake in its old haunts. He could only swallow his anger, rent a commercial empty ship, and after some slight modifications, set off for the East Capital. Are you sure? Did you really see the princess? The left minister of the East Capital leaned on the bow of the ship and took a closer look. He really did see the princess. It was not just the princess. With the princess was Tianyi Yu and another woman with outstanding looks and temperament. It really was the princess. Why would the princess appear in Tianyi City? The left minister of the East Capital looked confused. The left minister of the East Capital was Yuan Gui. Although Yuan Gui was the left minister of the East Capital, in fact he was the biggest tumor in the East Capital. He was actually a spy of the 5 major countries, and he was responsible for monitoring the Huang's every move. Although this person was not handsome and was not a magician or a martial artist, he was indeed a genuine villain who was very good at scheming. On one hand he curried favor with the royal family, and on the other hand he dealt with the 5 countries and gained benefits from each country. It was also because of this that he had a high status in the East Capital. He held great financial power and interfered greatly with the royal family. Even the current East Emperor, Dong Huang Ling'er's brother, had to respectfully address him as left minister. Among the 5 countries, the left minister of the East Capital favored later Qin the most. More than 2 years ago, the later Qin emperor proposed to the royal family on behalf of Crown Prince Duguxiu, wanting to marry Princess Dong Huang Ling. Yuan Gui put in a lot of effort in the middle and finally facilitated the marriage. But since then Princess Dong Huang Ling suddenly fell ill. The Empress used the princess's illness as an excuse to let her recuperate in the harem and not to be disturbed by outsiders. As for the princess's marriage, it was delayed again and again. Later Qin was already impatient. Yuan Gui was caught in the middle and did not have a good time. This time he came to Tianyi City to avoid later Qin's aggressiveness. On the other hand, he wanted to invite Su Daguai of Tianyi City to the East Capital. However, man proposes, God disposes. Tianyi City suffered heavy losses, and Su Daguai's hidden night pavilion was replaced overnight. Su Daguai was busy with work, so he refused Yuan Gui's generous offer. Chapter 708. Left Prime Minister. The princess hasn't appeared in front of everyone for more than 2 years. Could it be that she ran away? I've asked around. That empty ship belongs to Elder Hellion of the elite magician camp. They've been here for training for a year. The man who looked like the head of the guards was the expert warrior that later Qin gave to left Prime Minister Yuan Gui to protect him. I didn't expect the princess to run away from the marriage. Immediately send the news to later Qin. We can also return to the eastern capital and personally investigate the matter of the fake princess. Yuan Gui looked at Dong Huanglinger gloomily. Dong Huanglinger, who was immersed in the emotions of breaking up, didn't notice the empty ship not far away. Yun Sheng's 5 senses were sharp. Her beautiful eyes turned and fell on the empty ship not far away. There was no one on the empty ship opposite her. Could it be that her eyes were playing tricks on her? Why did she feel that someone was staring at her just now? The empty ship slowly rose into the sky and soon turned into a black dot in the blue sky. Skywing City was getting farther and farther away. 1 year, the Skywings Arena, the Hidden Night Pavilion, the Skywings Jade. Goodbye. Yun Sheng could still see the Skywings Jade on the city wall waving at them. Skywings City disappeared from sight. A year of training had also come to an end. Alright, we've flown out of Skywings City. Everyone come over. Let's count the results of the past year. Later, I'll ask the Great Elder to reward you according to your merits. Elder Hellion smiled. Just as Elder Hellion was about to speak, a carefree laughter came from the sky. Elder Hellion, counting the results and rushing back to take credit. But before that, shouldn't we also take into account the bet we made earlier? In the sky, more than a dozen students of the elite magician camp stood in the air. Each of them looked insufferably arrogant. Elder, you must have already inquired about the departure time of the elite magician camp and specially rushed to meet them at this time. Yun Xing glanced over. Aside from Elder Yu, the martial artists of the elite camp all had a much stronger aura compared to the last time they were here. Several of them had already broken through to the martial saint realm. Among so many people, Yi Baiming's aura was the most unstable. Even Yun Xing couldn't tell how strong he was now. Just by looking at it this way, the results of the Skywing City's trial this year seemed to be slightly better than the continent's elite warrior camp. Damned old fogey who just won't leave. I knew it. The moment he left Skywing City, he was in a hurry to settle the score. Elder Hellion did not forget about the bet. The 2 elders of the elite camp had joined forces for a few days during the beast rampage in Skywing City. The moment they left Skywing City, they started dog-eat-dog again. However, unlike at the beginning of the trial, Elder Hellion had a relaxed expression on his face. The 2 elders had already agreed that the conditions for winning the bet were, first, the person who broke through first, and second, the person who won the title of Combat King. The title of Combat King was originally very difficult to obtain. In the past year, according to what the 2 elders knew, no one in the elite magician camp or the elite warrior camp had obtained the title of Combat King. Even the outstanding ones like Yi Baiming and Feng Tian had not been able to obtain the title of Combat King in the past year due to special reasons. More than 10 martial artists from the elite magician camp landed on the ground like arrows. The deck of the empty ship immediately became crowded. The martial artists led by Elder Yu all had an extraordinary aura. Compared to before, they were like sharpened swords. Just by standing to the side, one could feel the changes in their doqi. The 2 sides glared at each other. Yi Baiming was still the same. His pair of phoenix eyes seemed to fall on Yun Sheng. Yun Sheng pretended to chat with Dong Huanglinger, only willing to show him the back of her head. Perhaps knowing Yun Sheng's intention, Yun Sheng heard a deep laugh. Not knowing why, Yun Sheng's ears turned red. Elder Yu, it's fine if you want to settle the score. If the news is correct, Feng Tian was the first to break through. In the 3rd month after he came here, he had already broken through to become a sky magician. According to what I know, Yi Baiming only broke through 6 months ago. Elder Hellion was full of confidence. He had already investigated this matter. That's right. However, you probably still don't know that Yi Baiming had already broken through to Martial Emperor 3 days ago, right? It was during the chaos in Skywing City that he made his breakthrough. After Elder Yu finished saying those words, he burst into loud laughter. He did not need to look to imagine the change in Elder Hellion's expression at this moment. Breaking through to Martial Emperor. When these words came out, the entire deck of the small empty ship was in an uproar. Impossible. How is this possible? It has only been a short year. How is it possible for him to break through twice? Elder Hellion muttered to himself. Yun Sheng's face also stiffened. She was just about to break through to become a sky magician. Yi Baiming had actually broken through to become a martial emperor all of a sudden? No wonder Yi Baiming had disappeared ever since he came out of the Sea of Clouds. It seemed that he had gone into seclusion to break through. Yun Sheng was filled with envy, jealousy, and hatred. How old was Yi Baiming this year? It seemed that he was only 4 years older than her. Yun Sheng felt that her brain was not listening to her. The continent's youngest martial emperor. Yun Sheng had the urge to go crazy. How could Yi Baiming's breakthrough be as easy as eating and sleeping? Naturally, Yun Sheng did not know that Yi Baiming's harvest in the Sea of Clouds might not be as much as hers, but it was definitely not less than hers. Just killing many commander-level demonic beasts and obtaining their Dharma souls and beast blood had allowed Yi Baiming's strength to increase by leaps and bounds. Elder Yu only knew about his breakthrough as a warrior. If others knew about his breakthrough as a magician, it would also be the same, knowing that Yi Baiming had actually broken through to become a martial emperor. Feng Tian's expression also changed slightly. On this empty ship, only Yun Sheng and Feng Tian knew that Yi Baiming cultivated both magic and martial arts. What Feng Tian was more concerned about was that Yi Baiming's cultivation as a warrior had increased. Then, his cultivation as a magician. Feng Tian felt sad and angry at the same time. What exactly did he have to do to catch up with Yi Baiming or even surpass him? Just because you said you broke through to martial emperor, you're a martial emperor. Who knows if your mainland's warrior elite camp is playing tricks? A male magician from the magician elite camp stood out and pointed at Yi Baiming with a face full of disbelief. There were only a few martial emperors among the instructors of the continent's warrior elite camp. Now, a student who had entered the camp for less than 5 years had actually broken through to become a martial emperor. If this spread to the continent's warrior elite camp or the continent, who knew what kind of commotion it would cause? Yi Baiming's expression did not change. He had already silently released a wave of fighting aura. The moment the fighting aura was released, the male magician who had provoked him groaned and took a few steps back. Chapter 709. As soon as Yi Baiming released his fighting aura, the magician felt as if he had bumped into a wall. It was as if his feet had sunk into a swamp, and it was difficult for him to even move a single step. Following that, he found it difficult to breathe, and his entire face turned purple from suffocation. Enough. Elder Hellion hurriedly stepped forward to stop him. Elder Hellion was a rare dual cultivator in the continent's elite magician camp. His magician cultivation was slightly higher, but his warrior cultivation had already reached the martial saint realm. He was certain that Yi Baiming's cultivation was higher than his. Oh, so that's to say, Elder Hellion, do you admit that your magician elite camp has lost this time's competition? Elder Yu stroked his smooth chin, feeling indescribably carefree. On the deck, the magicians of the continent's elite warrior camp were all glowing, feeling very proud. We've lost. Elder Hellion felt very sullen, but the truth was right in front of him. Feng Tian had broken through first, but Yi Baiming had broken through 2 levels in a year. If one were to calculate, the magicians of the elite warrior camp had a greater breakthrough. On the other hand, the magicians of the magician elite camp were no longer happy about leaving Skywing City. They were all like defeated roosters. Feng Tian closed his eyes. Since that's the case, the continent's elite warrior camp will have the final say in the next search for the divine artifact. Elder Yu's old face was filled with pride. Wait a moment. Just when Elder Yu thought that the outcome had been decided, a very discordant voice interrupted him. Elder Yu couldn't help but look to the side, wanting to know who it was that dared to interrupt at this time. The one who spoke was a female student. It's you? If I remember correctly, you're a substitute student. You really have no respect for your elders. How can a new student like you interrupt when an elder is speaking? Elder Yu's face showed some displeasure. This female student was really too insensible. Elder Yu, I want to ask again. What is the bet between the magician elite camp and the warrior elite camp? Yun Xing wasn't scared off by Elder Yu's reprimand. You still want to stall for time at a time like this? There's no harm in saying it again. My bet with Elder Hellion is to see which side has a student who achieves a breakthrough first. There's also a condition, and that's which side student wins the Combat King title. Elder Yu did not know that he had stepped into Yun Sheng's trap. Since that's the case, Feng Tian broke through to become a sky magician first, and Yi. Senior martial brother Yi broke through to become a martial emperor. Both of them broke through at the same time. At most, it can only be considered a draw. How can it be considered as our loss? Yun Sheng unwillingly called senior martial brother Yi. When Yi Baiming heard this, the corners of his mouth curled up slightly. There was a hint of mockery in his eyes, but he did not expose him. He knew that little wildcat would not give up so easily. Elder Yu, you're on your own now. Preposterous, Elder Hellion. This student of yours can't be deliberately looking for trouble, right? How can a sky magician and a martial emperor be mentioned in the same breath? Elder Yu said impatiently. That's right. If you lose, you lose. You still refuse to admit it. Could it be that the mainland's elite magician camp can't afford to lose? The students of the mainland's elite warrior camp jeered. Yun Sheng, stand down. Elder Hellion was a little embarrassed. Then I wonder if the title of Combat King can be mentioned in the same breath as a martial emperor? Yun Sheng ignored him and asked another question. Combat King and martial emperor, it was hard to say which one was higher. But in terms of scarcity, the mainland's elite camp had participated in the trials for so many years, but there really was not a single Combat King. If it's just the title of Combat King, then it can still be considered a draw. Elder Yu did not think much of it. He was very clear that in this trial, no one from either side had obtained the title of Combat King. Then what if there are 2 Combat King titles? Yun Sheng asked again. 2 Combat King titles, then of course you guys will win. However, that's simply impossible. Elder Yu's face was full of ridicule. Who says it's impossible? We do have 2 Combat Kings. Dong Huang Linger also walked forward. The 2 of us are this year's Combat Kings of the Yellow Wings Division. Little girl, aren't you afraid that your boasting will be exposed? Just the 2 of you? Humph, the 2 of you don't have any battle records in the Heaven's Wings arena. Elder Yu glared. What the hell were these 2 up to? Did they think they hadn't lost enough face? If it was said that Feng Tian had obtained the title of Combat King, then that would be true. But these 2? These 2 people who only dared to compete in the worst Yellow Wings division also dared to say that they had obtained the title of Combat King. Linger, don't say any more. Gufeng pulled Dong Huang Linger. Dong Huang Linger and Yun Sheng gave each other a look, and the 2 of them took out their masks and put them on. On the deck, 2 female magicians wearing Yuxia masks immediately appeared. The 2 of them then took out their Combat King belts. Flame and Emperor? The students of the elite camp all opened their mouths wide. Only Yi Baiming leaned against the side of the ship, looking like he was watching a show. The contest between the elite magician camp and the elite warrior camp had nothing to do with him. We didn't use our real names to participate in the competition. In the past year, we participated in more than 100 2-person competitions, dozens of 1-person daily competitions, 5 monthly competitions, and 1 annual competition. According to the Heaven's Wings Arena's conversion rate, the Flame Emperor duo obtained a total of 103 team victories. Dong Huang Linger said proudly. Actually, there was no need for Dong Huang Linger to say anything. The Flame Emperor's battle records as well as their winning streak were all explained in detail on the 12 Saint Seiya cards sold in Sky Wings City. As for the matter of the Flame Emperor killing the light unicorn in the Sea of Clouds, the Sky Wings City Lord residents had already appeared and issued a City Lord token. The masks were real. The Combat King belts were also real. All the evidence proved that Yun Sheng and Dong Huang Linger were the most legendary 2-person team in Sky Wings City in the past year. The group of students were all dumbfounded. Even the students of the elite warrior camp who mocked Yun Sheng earlier were all embarrassed. In everyone's mind there was only one common thought, pretending to be a pig to eat a tiger. The 2 of them actually obtained the Combat King title that other students couldn't obtain in the most inconspicuous Yellow Wings competition zone. After hearing this result, Elder Yu, who was originally very proud, twitched his mouth as if he was having a cramp. Elder Hellion couldn't help but jump out and point at Elder Yu, laughing loudly 3 times. "Old man, did you see that? Do you think that being a martial emperor is so great? 2 Combat King badges, do you have any? Ha ha, the elite warrior camp doesn't even have one. What a good face. What a great face." He had long forgotten how disappointed he was when he found out that Yun Sheng and Dong Huang Linger had gone to the Yellow Wings competition zone. At this moment, Elder Hellion couldn't wait to immediately return to the elite mage camp and tell the whole camp this good news. Chapter 710. Elder Yu's heart was filled with hatred. This feeling was as if victory was already within his grasp, But who knew that at the last moment, the other party would suddenly appear and steal the fruits of victory? What Elder Yu couldn't accept the most was that this Flame Emperor combination was something that he had said himself, that they would definitely not be able to achieve anything great. Good. Very good. The two of you, and the mainland's mage elite camp, let's go. Elder Yu was proud of his success when he came, but now he was like a rooster that was defeated. He lowered his head and ran away. Elder Yu, take care. I won't send you off. As for the matter of finding the divine artifact, I will personally pay you a visit to discuss the details. Seeing that Elder Yu was leading a group of fighters, he didn't even turn his head back and disappeared in the sky in anger. Elder Hellion was so happy that his eyebrows and beard were squeezed together. The mainland's warrior elite camp came and went like the wind. In a short while they disappeared. Elder Hellion was so happy that he praised Yun Sheng and Dong Huanglinger. The students on the deck were still immersed in this huge reversal of victory. One after another they went up to congratulate and curry favor with Yun Sheng and Dong Huanglinger. When Feng Tian, who was at the side, saw this, he revealed a mocking smile. Damn it, how is this possible? Yun Sheng actually obtained the title of Fighting King in the Yellow Wings competition zone. In the cabin, Chen Lianer was so jealous that her eyes were about to turn green. Just now, everything that she saw and heard stimulated Chen Lianer. Also, those students who were disdainful of Yun Sheng and Dong Huanglinger earlier were all surrounding the two of them. Those fawning faces and words of praise originally belonged to her. Not to mention, when Yi Baiming was watching the show at the side, he was looking at Yun Sheng with a loving expression. Chen Lianer didn't have the mood to hide at the side and eavesdrop on Elder Hulian's praises for Yun Sheng and the others. She returned to the cabin. Everything that had happened in the past few months flashed through her mind once again, tormenting her. Ever since the incident with Skywing Tower, several female magicians who had been on good terms with her gradually drifted apart, and the male magicians who had been pursuing her in the same line all showed a look of contempt for her, often opening their mouths to belittle her. These people flattered the strong and trampled on the weak. Each and every one of them was despicable. All of you remember this. The humiliation you gave me today, I, Chen Lianer, will return it back many times over. Chen Lianer's beautiful face became very ugly due to anger and jealousy. She suppressed the anger in her heart and took out the labyrinth stone. After she killed Skywing Tua, she obtained this stone. However, she was worried that Skywing City Lord would investigate the matter of Skywing Tua, so she did not dare refine it. Now that the airship had left Skywing City, it should be safe. Chen Lianer carefully observed the stone. The stone was the same shape as the notch on her bracelet. However, Chen Lianer did not know how to forge weapons, so no matter how she looked at it, she could not see why. It seems that I can only go back and take a look. Chen Lianer gritted her teeth and put the stone away. There were still a few days before the students of the elite camp returned to the camp. In the remaining days, Elder Hellion ordered the students to cultivate on the airship. At this time, an unknown change was happening on the continent. On the night after the beast riot in Skywing City ended, on a snowy mountain thousands of miles away from Skywing City, in the pitch-black Condor King's nest, a lonely black figure stood. The black figure looked like a human but also like a beast. The white-crowned Condor King, whose wing had been cut off by the Skywing City Lord, flew in, stumbling. "My lord." The Condor King spoke in a human-like voice after seeing the black figure. "Only you." The black figure discovered that only the white-crowned Condor King had returned alone, and his voice carried some surprise. "They're all dead." The white-crowned Condor King was afraid. Hearing this, the black figure was even more surprised. He knew the strength of Skywing City very well. 2 king-level magical beasts and many commander-level magical beasts. One of them had entangled the Skywing Great Lord, while the rest had entered the Cloud Sea to search for that magic array. Logically speaking, there should have been more than enough. But now, several commander-level magical beasts and 1 king-level magical beast had all died in the end. Who did this? Or could it be that the humans have nurtured so many experts over the years? The black figure's plan could be considered meticulous, but he did not expect that it would end up like this. I don't know. The magical beasts in the Cloud Sea have all disappeared. The corpses are all gone as well. The white-crowned Condor King could not find any clues as to who had done it. He only heard that before the Cloud Sea was sealed, the Skywing City Lord had issued a City Lord's order, and a large number of battle teams had entered the Cloud Sea. The black figure was furious. Even the corpses could not be found. Damn humans. The blood and soul stones of commander-level and king-level magical beasts had always been coveted by the humans. These commander-level and king-level magical beasts were rare existences on the boundless continent. If the black figure had not discovered and stimulated the magical beast potential in their bodies, they would most likely still be high-level magical beasts. Beside the black figure, a terrifying pressure was like that of a venomous snake. It flicked its tongue and emitted an invisible force of deterrence. When it felt the pressure, even the king-level magical beast, the white-crowned condor king, trembled in fear. "Sir, please calm down. The Cloud Sea's magic array diagram is in our hands." The white-crowned condor king took out a magic array diagram. It and its companions had spent many years hiding in Skywing City, and they had finally fulfilled their mission. After seeing the magic array diagram, the black figure's anger calmed down. He took the magic array diagram, and a strange look flashed across his invisible eyes. The Skywing City Lord, that martial artist, had only used this magic array to support the broken city of Skywing City. He had not discovered the wonderful use of this magic array at all. "Sir, after finding this magic array diagram, can my eagle descendants and I return to that place?" The white-crowned condor king saw that the black figure was in a good mood and hurriedly took the opportunity to ask. "The time is not ripe yet. With your physiques you can't pass through that barrier. You stay here and treat your injuries first. If there is any movement on the boundless continent, inform me immediately. I won't treat you unfairly." After the black figure finished speaking, a magical wave flickered and he disappeared. The black figure was as fast as lightning. In a flash he flew toward the east of the sky. In the easternmost part of the continent, a blood-red light shone. The black figure flew into the blood-red light before disappearing. On the other side, the messenger beast of Minister Zhua of the East capital had already flown to the Crown Prince's residence in the later Qin. After the Crown Prince's chief imperial bodyguard received the news that the Princess of the East capital had appeared in Skywing City, he immediately went to report to Duguxiu. Chapter 711. Your Highness, the left Prime Minister Yuan Gue sent a message. In the later Qin Crown Prince's palace, the guard captain found Duguxiu, who was practicing in the training room. A beautiful concubine was helping Duguxiu change out of his sweaty training clothes. Duguxiu took the letter and glanced at it casually. After reading the contents of the letter, Duguxiu's expression changed. Donghuang Ling of the eastern capital is a fake. He waved his hand and pushed the beautiful concubine away. The left Prime Minister said in the letter that he saw the real princess in Tianyi City. He has watched the princess grow up since she was a child. There is no reason for him to mistake her. Crown Prince, should we ask the eastern capital about this matter? The guard captain asked. The Crown Prince's marriage had been a topic that everyone in the later Qin was concerned about in the past few years. Duguxiu was already 18 years old. Although he had many concubines, the Crown Prince's wife who could inherit his bloodline was still undecided. Donghuang Ling was the princess of the eastern capital. Her status was noble. Everyone in the later Qin approved of this marriage. Duguxiu also planned to get married as soon as possible. After all, marrying the Crown Prince's wife was just a formality. As long as the woman was not Yun Sheng, it was the same to him. Ask the eastern capital? How do you think the Empress Dowager and Dongjun will answer? How could the Empress Dowager and Dongjun not know about the princess running away? Duguxiu had already asked around about Donghuang Ling. He heard that the princess was not only beautiful, but also talented in magic. It was said that she was a dual-element magician. However, her personality was completely different from the current Dongjun. She was a willful and unruly princess. Unfortunately, in a large country like the later Qin that worshipped martial arts, a crown prince consort with outstanding talent in magic and an unruly personality was at most a flower vase. Duguxiu's impression of the royal family was that they were weak. Donghuang Ling dared to run away. This news made Duguxiu curious about this princess. However, no matter how unruly she was, if a bird was disobedient, its wings should be broken. Regardless of whether it was a princess or a dual-element magician, in Duguxiu's hands, they were just political chess pieces. Then are we just going to drag this matter on? Recently, the third prince's henchmen have been saying that the crown prince does not have an heir, which is not good for the future of the later Qin, the guard captain said respectfully. Duguxiu had a lot of power in later Qin, but he was only the crown prince. There were still a few princes eyeing him covetously. No matter how capable the crown prince was, he had never had an outstanding heir. The heir of the crown prince had always been a topic of concern for the officials in the imperial court. The crown prince's aides also believed that the crown prince should marry the crown princess as soon as possible and give birth to a child with an outstanding bloodline. This way the later Qin could continue to prosper. Men, prepare a carriage. This crown prince is going to the eastern capital. I want to see how long that fake princess can disguise herself in front of this crown prince. Duguxiu sneered. As long as he could confirm the identity of the other party, even if he had to personally go to the continent's magic elite camp, he would still find out who the person was. Women were nothing more than playthings to satisfy his physiological needs. As for Dong Huanglinga, even if she had the bloodline of the imperial clan, he could still crush her arrogance one by one and throw her into the mud, making sure that she would never be able to rise again. Before Duguxiu set off, he also ordered someone to bring the news of him going to the eastern capital to the eastern monarch. The eastern capital was a typical Jiangnan city. It was the oldest capital city in the continent, and it had a rich cultural atmosphere. This place was adjacent to the easternmost Dongyu River of the boundless continent. It was surrounded by mountains and rivers, and the scenery was very beautiful. In an ancient and somewhat majestic palace, an imperial guard captain told the eastern capital's Empress Dowager Situ Miaoqing and the eastern monarch, Dong Huang Tianqi, about the arrival of the later Qin ceremonial guards at the border of the eastern capital. What? The later Qin's crown prince, Duguxiu, wants to enter the palace to visit a patient? The eastern capital's Empress Dowager was around 40 years old. She had a beautiful appearance, and her eyes were very similar to Dong Huanglinga. Dong Huang Tianqi was Dong Huanglinga's elder brother. His face was pale, and it seemed that his body was not very good. Mother, what should we do? Did Duguxiu find out something? Dong Huang Tianqi was very fond of his younger sister, Dong Huanglinga. Earlier on, he was also against the marriage between the later Qin's Empress Dowager Situ Miaoqing and Dong Huang Tianqi. However, as he was alone and weak, and most of the officials in the imperial court were bribed by the later Qin, he had no choice but to agree to his younger sister's marriage. Because of this matter, Dong Huanglinga was angry with him for a long time. It was only until he agreed to let his younger sister secretly go to the continent's magic elite camp that the situation became better. A few months ago, his younger sister even wrote a few letters to him. From the letters, it could be seen that she was very happy in the continent's magic elite camp. Empress Dowager Situ shook her head and said, "The matter of Ling secretly going to the continent's magic elite camp is very secretive. It is impossible for outsiders to know about it. I think that Duguxiu only wants to check on Ling Er's condition. After all, he is already Ling Er's fiancé in name." Empress Dowager Situ had heard of Duguxiu's great reputation. Towards this future son-in-law of hers, she also had many taboos. If it's just to check on Ling Er, it would be fine. But if... Dong Huang Tianqi felt somewhat uneasy. If Duguxiu comes, tell him that Ling Er has contracted a strange disease and can only see him through a curtain. They are only engaged, and according to etiquette they shouldn't see each other directly. Empress Dowager Situ quickly came up with an idea. She immediately instructed her subordinates to keep their mouths shut and not leak any information. That night, Duguxiu arrived at the eastern capital. The first thing he did when he arrived at the eastern capital was to bring some medicinal ingredients with him. Empress Dowager Situ and Dong Huang didn't expect that the later Qin's crown prince, Duguxiu, would actually enter the palace in the middle of the night. The two of them panicked and hurriedly came out to meet Duguxiu. The magical palace lanterns were lit, and the palace in the eastern capital was brightly lit. This was the first time that Empress Dowager Situ and Dong Huang Tianqi saw one of the rumored Wuji 5 annulus, Duguxiu. It was said that the later Qin's Duguxiu was a malefic star, and there was no one in the continent who didn't know of his ferocious name. Today, when they saw him, they saw an extraordinary man standing in the imperial court. He had a head full of red hair that resembled flames. His figure was tall and sturdy, and he wore a crown prince's yellow robe, which made him look extraordinarily noble. The previous 5 states of the continent were all vassal states of the Donghuang dynasty. Although the eastern capital had declined, according to etiquette, when Duguxiu met Empress Dowager Situ and Dong Huang Tianqi, he should still treat them as a subject. Duguxiu greets Dong Huang Tianqi and Empress Dowager Situ. Although it was the etiquette between a subject and a monarch, the later Qin's crown prince, Duguxiu, didn't kneel at all, let alone the etiquette between a subject and a monarch. He only bowed slightly. When Dong Huang Tianqi and Empress Dowager Situ saw this, they were very dissatisfied, but there was nothing they could do. The current eastern capital was nothing in the eyes of the later Qin. If the later Qin's crown prince angered him, Dong Huang Tianqi's life would be in danger. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.